Welcome to another episode of the Grappling with Life podcast. Before we go on, please go ahead to the subscribe button, smash the subscribe button. Actually, you know what? I want you to Kimura the subscribe button. I want you to armbar the notifications button right now. I'm waiting. You done? Okay, cool. So today we've got a guy who, by the way, he's dressed today, chops down trees, but he doesn't.
Not a lie, yeah, I do have a lumberjack look.
He's got that lumberjack look. We've got, can I call you doctor now yet?
Not a doctor yet.
Not a doctor yet. Okay, so Nasir Uddin, in bracket Dr. Nasir Uddin, concussion, I would say, expert. Yeah, I'm gonna call you expert. I can call you expert. Yeah, concussions researcher with the University of
St. Mary's University.
St. Mary's University. Yeah. Welcome back. You came in. It was, I think, episode 5, 7, 8. One of them,
10.
The early ones. So you came in early on, 2000 and
different setup.
different setup, and then people were all angry because we were talking about being bold for like 10 minutes.
Nah, man, I think they loved that.
Did they?
yeah.
We had one comment. Can you bring up that comment, bruv?
What's the code?
Let me bring up the comment, bruv. It was more directed to me, bruv.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, not you. It was me. Why are you guys
say?
talking about being bold? Because obviously it's a special club, innit?
Yeah.
And we're actually talking about being bold
cool
again right now, just by bringing it up. But so Nasir, how you been now?
Alhamdulillah, man, I can't complain. Good stuff.
Good. Yeah. So obviously it was March, I think, March, almost a year, just over a year, right? Since you've come, yeah. So we started in March. We're in April, May. Okay, yeah. So talk to us a little bit about what you've been up to in that whole year, bruv.
Oh man,
because you kind of, you know what happened? He came and done this podcast and he just ghosted us for a whole until 3 weeks ago. I haven't heard from him, bro. So what's been happening, man?
Yeah, quite a lot actually. So last time we spoke, I was working at London Met.
Yeah.
So I'm not there anymore now. As of June, I'm joining Queen Mary's University they're normally in Stepney and Mile End, but the part I'm in will be in Whitechapel.
Okay.
But as a researcher, so it's quite a new initiative, but they're looking at the Southeast Asian population, and they want to understand why there's potentially a higher risk factor for disease like diabetes, cardiovascular disease, stroke, and so on. And while the simple answer will be bad food, they're looking at what are the potential genetic risk factors. So they're looking to recruit over 100,000 Southeast Asians to look at their genomes, and then my job is to come in and then look at so when you get your genotype, you look at the phenotype, which is potentially expressions in blood, in their physical characteristics, and the state of their organs. So my job is to do that bit, which is stage 2.
Okay.
So I'm kind of leaving lecturing for now.
So you're in the lab now?
Yeah, either in the lab or in the clinic. So less analysing, but more taking of the data itself. Okay,
right.
So that's that, and cracking on with trying to finish the PhD. And
what's going on with this PhD, man?
But
how long does it normally take to finish?
So a part-time PhD takes about 6 to 8 years.
Oh,
but a full-time one takes about 3 years. But because I'm balancing working almost full-time, mine is technically supposed to be 6 years. Inshallah, if all goes well.
How long? When did you start it?
I started in February 2019.
Okay, so we're coming up to 3 years?
Yeah, 3 to 4 years. Yeah. If we count COVID as a year, then it kind of knocks it out. But I've not let it. Thankfully, I've not let it knock it out because we've still been busy.
Yeah.
Doing some alternative forms of research, which I'll talk about soon, inshallah. But and just in that period of time, I managed to nab a visiting kind of research position where I get to go to Oxford for the past month, and I've just been at a lab there that combines some of the work that I do at the moment, which is brain stimulation, but they combine brain stimulation with neuroimaging, like MRI. So I'm visiting there basically for the past few weeks, just trying to see what they do over there and get to better understand that.
So you've been busy, and you moved house as well.
Yeah.
How's you settling in?
Yeah. It's not bad. It's a big change to go from Aldgate to Barking. So
what's Barking like, man? So is it Barking? Was it that outside of
It's a weird one. So it's quite close to the station. So when you get to the station, you regret all your life decisions.
Yeah.
But as you kind of go towards more the residential roads, you're like, okay, you know, this is what I came here for. You know, like that. There's that family vibe. There's that, you know, everyone kind of gets along with their neighbours vibe, that kind of thing. But it's your commute to work that reminds you of Barking in itself.
So what do you mean when you say that? Because there might be people from Barking listening, innit?
If you're from Barking, you know what I'm talking about. you know what I'm talking about. There's no one that ever says Barking Station's cool. I love that area.
Obviously, that investment hasn't got to the gentrification hasn't got there, is it?
Nah. I mean, the gentrification's happening, and it's happening.
Because a lot.
Yeah. Right. Like there are the back parts of the station near the Asda now. You don't even recognise it being Barking anymore. So yeah, I mean, it might help, might not. We'll see what happens.
Inshallah, man, that's good, man. So I guess before we started filming, we were talking about YouTube.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I thought we'd just pick that just to kind of, before we get into the, you know, the deep sciencey stuff, And what were we talking? We're talking about like getting views and stuff like that. So we're looking back at our views since you came and like what people watch and what people don't watch. And then we start getting into kind of... like what is your like? Because everyone, what's funny is you don't realize if you look at your life, and how technology impacts it, So from when you wake up to when you go to sleep, like how does that impact you with your daily stuff? So I'll just give you an example from my line of work, So I come into the office, I turn on the computer. The first thing I do is open up YouTube. That's literally the first thing I do. Yeah. And sometimes, like for example, when you're coding or you're looking for, like always, it's crazy how much free information you have. So there are certain YouTubers in my niche that I follow and I subscribe. And I was thinking to myself, like, because for our channel, I was thinking, what would make someone subscribe to this podcast? Like, what is it? I still haven't figured it out. Does that make sense? Like when we first started, it was like, okay, we're gonna have a conversation. Hopefully we'll keep you entertained when you're doing some mind-numbing work, maybe, or maybe you're going for a drive or whatever it is. So for yourself, like talk us through your YouTube, because I heard some nerdy stuff come out your mouth. So guys, like, so what would you do when you get in the office or the lab? Are you even allowed to use YouTube?
No, so technically speaking, I haven't been using YouTube in the lab, I promise.
Why not though, man?
I mean, it depends what kind of work you do in the lab. Like certain people that are in like wet labs, a lot of the time, it's mundane work that you need to do in
So wet lab is blood and all that stuff.
So you're dealing with the data analysis for like bloods and stuff like that. A lot of the time you're in these, you know, secure environments where you don't have many people, protective gear and all that kind of stuff. So a lot of the time you kind of put your headphones in and just crack on.
So what do you listen to?
So in that situation, you'd probably listen to a podcast or you'd have a playlist of certain things that you enjoy. And then
so what podcasts do you listen to? Obviously, apart from this one, that you listen to it religiously every week, innit?
Ironically, I don't actually listen
be careful. Be careful what you say.
I actually don't listen to podcasts as much at the moment.
No, I'm joking. Okay, what kind, apart from this one, which I know obviously you listen to, just for branding purposes, what podcasts would you listen to?
So the niche topics around, I guess, like for me, a lot of them tend to be like really specific areas of my research. So, you know, it's someone that talks about, you know, recent
shout them out, bro.
Concussion.
Shout them out.
I'm just trying to think. So there's, I think there's one that kind of is, I think it's called Hydration Science, and they talk about different rehydration strategies. I don't know.
They must have like free listeners, bro.
Yeah.
I'm joking.
That's a good point.
I'm joking.
I actually don't know. Yeah.
Hydration what?
I think it's called Hydration Science, or the name of that particular podcast I listened to, or that topic for the week was probably called Hydration Science. But I can't remember the exact. That's the other thing as well. I don't religiously follow like one. I'll find a specific topic, or I might follow that.
Did you say specific, bro? Did he just say specific?
No, specifics.
He said specific, didn't he? No. When I'm working in labs, I say specific. Specifically, you know this like.
I heard
specifically, That's the organ coming out, bro.
Listen,
you can't slip here, bro. Go.
Yeah, I know, like these. Before we carry on,
go on.
You got broccoli on the side of your tooth.
Do I?
Yeah.
Alright, go to my camera. It's not broccoli, bruv.
No, it's
it's
broccoli.
coriander, fam.
It's
You gotta
coriander.
take it out, bro, because
This
it's
side?
showing. No, on the other side.
This side?
Yeah.
Alright, get it off my face while I get out. Go on. Is it gone?
Literally, let me see, turn that way and then look. No, it's there.
Broccoli, you know.
What? I don't want you to say, you didn't tell me.
Yeah, I'm glad you told me.
See,
Sorry.
people are telling you now.
One second.
Alhamdulillah, they have to tell me, bro. Alright, listen,
He's gonna
don't.
come take it out for you.
Hey, it's gone.
Oh, I thought you were gonna put your dusty finger in my mouth.
I
I was gonna let you as well. Imran's 100% gonna clip this one.
Yeah.
100%.
You gotta put it in there. I know it.
SubhanAllah. Okay, so what were we talking about? You said specifically, and then we kind of gunned you a little bit.
Wait.
First, just for I haven't had broccoli in about 5 years. Sorry, go on. But where were we at, man? You kind of like,
He said specifically, and then you gunned him out. and
Right,
then-
yeah.
We're not finishing on that one.
What kind of podcast is this?
Yeah, so I was gonna say sometimes I don't follow the podcast. I follow the individual.
Right, yeah.
So, for example, if I know there's a certain scientist or a certain researcher that is probably going to talk about his or her area, I know that there's probably going to be little gems that they add in a different podcast, which is more relative to that podcast they're talking, on. So I might follow the individual as opposed to follow the podcast.
So what individual is this? If I'm interested in hydration sciences, who's the top guys there, or the guys that you would?
They don't actually do many podcasts, but like there's a researcher that was at a university and then kind of moved all the way up to the point that he's, I think, head of like the thermal and mountain division in the U.S. Army, and his name's Mike Kennefic, and he does all of the research on like load carrying, wearing protective suits, and how much to the point of literally every gram of body mass or every kilogram of body mass should the individual try to rehydrate down to.
I'm going to divert this conversation quickly because you just reminded me, you said mountains.
Yeah.
Did you hear about that Bengali guy who climbed Mount Everest, bro?
I did not know.
Bruv, Google him, bruv.
Is he lost or something?
Fasting as well.
He lost.
Yeah, first Bangladeshi to climb Mount Everest fasted.
Wow.
I don't know if it's the first Bengali to climb up the Mount Everest or Bengali who's fasting to climb Mount Everest.
There's 2 Bengalis, bro.
Really?
Yeah, bruv.
It's mad.
Sorry, so someone like they would have spoken to a specialist, right, or been through some sort of training before you.
Yeah, they would have had to.
Yeah.
Because that you're in that situation, you're dealing with
Kita
altitude.
khoiso, vlad. Kitabe. Why they pixelate his face for, bro? Go back.
That's the highest.
Why they pixelate his face?
It could be us. 1 second.
Is it us?
Wow, 480p. What's going on,
Right.
bro?
Yeah, that's true, bro. But you know what? Pause it for a second. Why wasn't he in Bata shoes, bro? Mashallah, bro.
That's crazy, man.
So was it recent? Right, he's Bangladeshi, as in from the Desh, bruv.
This guy,
Mashallah.
23rd of... No,
He done it in 2010.
No, he was the one who's fasting, bro.
Was that put in?
Put in fasting. Yeah. Aki. Yeah, this guy. Oh, he's British.
Oh, he's repping the English flag as well, yeah? British flag.
Get
He
that colonial
fully
stuff out of
prepared
here,
that.
bro.
Oldham.
Can you zoom it in, bro?
Oh yeah, Boston.
39, my age. Inshallah, 38 actually. Okay,
Mashallah.
20. How long did it
5
take?
days after recovering from COVID.
This guy's a G, bro.
What is he on?
Wow.
It's that Mr. Naga, bro. He just rubbed it in his gums and
That's
started
it.
climbing, bro. Mashallah, bro.
Right.
Where is he from? If he's from Aldgate, I'm gonna lose my mind.
Nah.
If he's from Brick Lane,
Where's he from?
hey, what would he say? What would he say if he's from Brick Lane, bro? I go to climb Mount Everest, isn't he?
I'm going to do the mountain. He climbed Kilimanjaro, Mont Blanc, the highest mountain of Africa. This guy's a mountaineer, yeah?
Mashallah, bro. Where is he from, though? Where
He's
in
gotta
England
be.
is he from? Huh?
Oldham.
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 Okay, he's definitely not
He's
from
a
London. Us
Manchester
London
man.
mans are lazy, bro. Yeah. Mashallah, bro. So shout out to, what's his name?
Aki.
Bro, let's get him on a podcast, bro.
Sit.
From
Oh,
all that man that.
They took, you know that when you take a picture in front of like a tree or something, you know the Bengali?
Yeah.
He took it to the next level.
Don't get twisted. Arabs do that as well. The freshies, they gotta have some flowers in the background and stuff. innit? Hey, Zach, take his name down. See if we can get him on, bro.
Yeah, I
Sick.
did that.
That'd be good. That story would be amazing.
That
like.
would be amazing. Yeah.
I watched actually. What did I watch recently? That Gurkha, the Tibetan guy. Is it Tibet? Where the Gurkhas from? No, Nepal. So this guy climbed, but you have to watch this on Netflix. He climbed 11 peaks in 6. It's never been done. Just Google him, bro. Do you ever work with people like this?
I haven't personally, but like
the industry,
we've got them in the lab. Like
Right.
the same heat chamber that I use. That heat chamber can mimic altitude.
Right. So
Of-
this guy actually went. Just go to Netflix. It's a Netflix documentary.
14 peaks.
14 peaks, bro. They had to do. They done like.
In less than a year.
Yeah, in less than a year. It was like he climbed one mountain in 24 hours, bro.
These lot have some ridiculous strength.
Crazy, bro. Mental strength as well.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
what he said was, he goes, every guy every non-Nepalese guy that's climbed up had a Nepalese guy show him the way, but no one knows who that guy is. You understand? The Sherpas. Because when they climb the mountains, it's always the Sherpas that are with them, innit? But they never get the notoriety, bro.
It's crazy.
And he even said it at the end of the documentary. He said, he said that if I was white,
yeah.
he goes, this would have international news.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? But I felt bad for him, bro.
Make it much more viral, innit?
Yeah, exactly.
Standard.
But so you listen to guys that are specifically to do with your industry.
Yeah. I don't, like it's quite rare that I venture out of that, to be honest.
Don't try it, bro.
No.
Come on. You said to me you watch.
So YouTube videos.
Okay.
Different. Like I don't actually listen to podcasts very much. Like I can think of probably 3 or 4.
Apart from this one, but yeah.
Yeah. Of course, man. But it's one of those things. I feel like there's certain times you want dead time, and dead time is like when you're watching something, for example, and you don't mind, and like you've kind of set out that you're not going to do anything productive in that particular period of time, right? And with YouTube, I feel like generally who I subscribe to is more like I don't know if I can quantify it, but like nearly 3/4 of their stuff is stuff that I really want to see, or I'm probably going to want to see it at some point, like save for later or something like that.
Right.
And if I find, like, for example, maybe 10% is of what is of interest to me, then I watch them enough for it to probably pop up on my homepage. But if there's any other related stuff, I'm not really interested, so it's not really worth subscribing to.
Right.
See what I'm trying to say? So, like, I don't know, like I watch reaction videos. There'll be a guy who watches that specific show.
Right.
I love Rick and Morty, for example, right?
Okay, yeah.
He watches Rick and Morty, but he watches like 25 anime shows that I don't give a crap about.
Right. Okay.
So I'm not subscribing to.
But you're an anime guy though.
Nah.
Oh, okay. I thought you were an anime guy.
No, the opposite. Like, that's what I'm saying.
You don't like anime.
Yeah. So well, I haven't really watched anime enough to say I like it or not. But it was the
It's
fact
banging,
that
bro. It's banging.
No, you're a nerd, bro.
It's
Seriously, I
banging.
tried watching it. I was like, you know what?
Watch it, bro. It's banging. It's banging.
But wallahi, the stories are so convoluted.
You're a hater, bro.
I'm not a hater, bro.
No, you just haven't seen it enough. That's what it is.
fair enough.
Why would I watch something that I don't want to watch?
No, you don't know if you don't like it if you ever watched it.
I have watched it. I watched Attack on Titans.
Apparently, that's supposed to be really
That's
good.
banging, bro.
That's supposed to be really good.
That's
Yeah.
banging.
I know
That's
he's got
what
my
I'm
kids
saying.
watching it, bro.
In
But
terms
I'm
of
like,
reactions, right? That's all over my YouTube page.
Is it?
But I don't click on any of them. That's what I'm saying.
and there's like 5 million episodes a season.
No,
It's like
that's like One Piece, bro. They've got like 1,000 episodes.
it's crazy, man.
Yeah.
Like, and I blame Dragon Ball Z for this, bro. Did you watch Dragon Ball Z?
Nah, that's what I'm saying. I didn't really watch any of that stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
So for YouTube, like, I mean, I remember like, I say 10 years ago, or in 2020, 2012, I say 2009, 10. Yeah, YouTube was practically like, I don't think I even watched YouTube in 2010, 2009.
No, YouTube
2008,
wasn't
2009. I think
really-
YouTube started in 2005, and then.
Yeah.
But I've really, I'm really, especially in our community, there's a lot of creators now
Yeah.
doing different things. But I feel like there's a lot of dawah material, and then you have like, now you've got the whole husband and wife type situations that you got, which
you name it, man. There's something. There's something.
Yeah, so you
someone's
got
doing.
that, and people are watching that in droves, bruv. It's like mind numbing.
The funniest ones are like the daily vlogs. I've seen people do something like every day of Ramadan, right? And you're looking at it thinking, but if your life's that perfect,
Yeah.
you wouldn't be on Insta anyway.
Yeah, 100%,
Like,
bro. 100%.
You would, like you make it out like you just took a trip to Maldives and came back in time to pray Dhuhr, and then next minute you're having like the most amazing 4-course meal just before Maghrib, and then somehow you're still in bed by 8 and up at 5, and it's just like,
I was watching this Algerian kid, on YouTube, and he was making shorba. You know shorba? It's like a Algerian soup.
No,
right?
I've seen that.
yeah.
I've seen that. The boy with the long hair, he's got a little bit long hair.
He's all over TikTok, this guy.
Yeah, I've seen it.
But what is it with them chatting bare fast?
Oh yeah,
And it's chopped up as well. My
it's
brain was
because-
hurting, bro.
yeah. So obviously the average viewer
Basically, basically, chop, and it's like
Yeah.
this. The whole, the video is him doing this.
But that's
So basically,
that is literally.
I'm like, what? Why are
No,
you chopping it up this fast, bro?
The average viewer now doesn't have an attention span past like 20,
Take it
20
easy,
seconds
man.
in it. So obviously
It's
now
like he's trying to like make you watch the whole
And
video.
also it's got to fit with like back in the day. Instagram had like what a 15-second video
Yeah,
time
yeah,
limit.
yeah.
Right, Twitter used to be 140 characters.
Vine had like 15 seconds.
Yeah, that's
as well,
what I'm trying to say. So like everyone's starting to getting used to like delivering content in.
Habib is too much though, bro.
No, it's
But
ridiculous
we need
now.
to get those guys in labs, bro. Seriously, get in there, put him in that heat chamber.
Seriously,
And just study his
and
brain,
slow
bro.
life down for them.
Wallah, it's too much, bro.
I'm telling you, man.
Bro, and there's another guy. You're scrolling past. Don't scroll up if you're Muslim and you. Shut up, like, get out of
I
here,
see
blood.
that. I see that.
Shut your mouth, blood.
Yeah.
Don't scroll
I've
up.
seen that. His eyes look like it's popping
Yeah,
out. He's like,
no, I'm
"Wallahi,
scrolling
you
up."
won't believe this.
And also, I'm also. Don't tell me what to do. I don't even know you, bruv. Don't scroll up and then
Yeah.
and what I don't like as well, bruv. Yeah, it's like Arab parents be like, and he's wearing a friggin'. He's wearing a scarf. He's got a beard. I'm looking at him.
Yeah, the role playing one.
I'm like, I'm like, you're wet, bruv. You're wet. And the thing for them is, the louder I am,
Yeah.
the more it's gonna be funny. But bro,
Yeah.
stop shouting, bruv.
You know what? There's certain ones that do
They're
it really
spot
well.
on. Yeah, some of them are spot on. Yeah.
There's a Bengali one. Imran, you might know this.
No, what's his
Nah,
name?
I actually don't like. Well, I mean, no, he's cool. Like he's funny. I've seen
Yeah.
it, but there's one that he does it the best. I can't remember his name though, man.
Can you bring him up, bruv?
What
Is he on YouTube?
He's all over everything, man. Imran, do you know?
He's an Ali guy, sorry.
Yeah, I think it's Ali. I
His
don't.
name's Ali. I don't know.
Yeah, Ali came to mind, but I don't know the rest of his. But he's done some spot on stuff. Like when I
Silly one.
yeah. He's won like, quite a few recent awards. Got married and all that
Oh,
stuff
this
recently.
guy.
Yeah, I know which one.
He's done some. Yes,
This guy.
This
Can I
guy.
put it on? Oh, this guy.
Wait, there's one where he does it of a
But he's not Bengali,
university.
He is.
Yeah.
Is he Bengali?
Yeah.
He's done one of a university lecturer, and I was spot on, man.
His one's actually.
But he's got his own show now, innit?
Yeah, he was on BBC.
Yeah,
He was on BBC.
He did the one about when
Yeah.
when you work in a workplace where everyone's white and then another an
Yeah.
Asian
He's done
guy
like the
comes in.
fasting one, all that kind of
Hey,
stuff.
bro,
like-
why didn't you play it, bro?
You
Oh,
know,
you want to play it?
find this one on a university lecturer.
Yeah, go on.
He killed me on that one.
I didn't realize he was Bengali, bro. Are
Yeah.
you sure though?
He's
He's
definitely.
from like down south, I think. Though.
It's
What's
probably-
his name though?
Yeah, what's his actual name?
Check on his
I think it's Ali
Ali
Official.
Official, there he
yeah,
is.
yeah. So
Yeah.
Ali Official.
This is what I don't like though. Should I vlog with my wife? Like,
Nah, don't do it, bro. Look, play the video, bro. Don't vlog with your wife. Don't do it. Shall I vlog with my wife? Leave your wife out of what you're doing, bro. That's the same thing as like me bringing my wife to work, bro. Bro, why? No one cares, bro. First, it's a headache, bro. She's gonna think less of you as well.
He did that parody in the airport.
Oh yeah, that was a good one.
He
What was
did the
that?
one in the
The
airport.
random check in the airport.
yeah. So he's been
This
on a
one.
few shows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's actually his own show, bro.
Yeah, he did this one. But obviously, BBC and I don't want to.
Oh yeah, like getting
yeah,
taken
yeah.
down, bro.
But yeah, if you find that
Yeah, we
university
ain't gonna
one,
find that
one
video,
was
are we?
hilarious.
Type in university, bro. Can you spell university, bro?
University. It's like that, innit?
Put in Ali official, bro, not Ali Bengali.
Yeah. Take the Ali Bengali. That might. I think Ali Official University should do it, but yeah.
Is that Insta? It's probably on his Instagram.
It's probably on his Insta, but that'll probably be.
Yeah, it's probably on his Insta, bro. Is he actually in the university or is he in
No, he just mimics what it sounds like to listen to a university lecturer.
And also, if I was to make sketches, you ain't catching me with a scarf on, bro. It's not happening, bro.
On this guy.
Nah, bro. Anyway,
Yeah,
we
that's
did try.
fine.
Ali
Yeah,
Official,
yeah.
we did try,
It
bro.
is what it is.
Tried to plug you in,
Yeah,
but
Yeah, but it's not working.
out, don't
With our
worry.
2 listeners that are gonna, they'll probably watch you anyway, blood.
Yeah,
But
so-
yeah, like so there's that kind of being pushed in your face. But what for me was like what I use YouTube for is to learn, bro, and to listen to different conversations.
Right.
But I've gone into this wormhole, rude boy, of right wing.
Okay.
When I say right wing,
Yeah,
I don't
yeah,
mean like BNP and stuff. I mean American kind of conservatives.
Yeah.
There's a lot of that they're coming on YouTube, yeah?
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, I'm the last person they want to watch their stuff. Mm-hmm. But I'm gonna sound, it's gonna be a bit. I kind of agree with a lot of what they're saying, blood. I'm like, how am I agreeing with a Trump supporter, bro? Real talk, bro. You're kind of like, because the information is starting to show. Because for me, I don't. If you're say, what you're saying is right, it's right, isn't it? Whether you're left or right or middle, whatever it is. But anyway, now let's get into the brain. Okay, so I think we kind of spoke a little bit about it in the first podcast, but I think we need to refresh it today. Yeah.
Yeah, we might just
Brushed up on
Yeah.
it. So, what made you choose this specific topic to do your PhD in?
it's actually it's quite a personal story actually, but like
How personal, bro?
that is quite deeply personal because it's related to like a medical diagnosis, to be honest. Yeah,
Okay,
it's crazy,
right.
But it was more to do with the fact that we trained a lot all the time. You know,
Are you still suffering from this medical?
No, so I wouldn't say I'm suffering from it at all. If anything, inshallah, like
Inshallah.
it's nothing that I know to you know
Limit.
affect me on
Yeah,
daily
yeah,
life.
okay,
Yeah,
okay.
but it was one of those things where you know you start off, you study, you do the normal things that you plan on doing, but you love combat sports, you train, you come wrestling, you do all that kind of stuff. But I used to suffer from migraines. I still do now.
Right. Okay.
Like, it's not normal. Every time I mention it to someone who's like a specialist in the area, they'll be like, you know, that's not normal, right? You probably got to get that checked.
What the specialist says it, or you say it?
Yeah, I mean, like the migraines. When I tell certain specialists, they're like, you need to.
Like, how bad are they, bro?
So I get it probably 2 to 3 times a week.
What, regular?
It's quite regular. And I
So
know
when's the last time you got a banging migraine?
2 days ago.
Serious?
Yeah, like it's a normal thing in my life. Like I know, like I don't leave the house probably without some painkillers in my bag because I know there could probably be a time I'm gonna get it.
My mum used to, remember Zach?
yeah, like
Bro,
proper
she used to
lights
get
off,
bad.
Yeah.
So she'd
kinda
cover
wanna be
her
in the dark,
eyes.
all that
Yeah,
kind of stuff. Yeah, exactly.
But she's alright now, isn't it? She doesn't get it as much.
Well, hijama helps, innit?
Yeah, so she does
Okay.
hijama and stuff.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
like it's not, I mean, when we were young, she would like sometimes it's days, bro. And
you kind of just feel like basically you feel like the rest of your day is done once you get it. But like, alhamdulillah, I've not really let it affect my life on that level, but it's just I know it's there and I know what triggers are there. So sometimes I'm like, oh, that's your fault, right? Like you knew you should have done X, Y, Z. But as life goes, you sometimes don't do all of those things perfectly.
like what? Give me an example.
So a lot of the time, for example, the irony is like I study hydration, but you know you haven't drank enough for the rest of the day. You know you should be sleeping at a certain time because people with migraines have to stick to a schedule. If they sleep too much that day, so they lie in, for example, they're gonna wake up with a headache.
No
guaranteed.
way.
Yeah. So like on a weekend, the rare occasional weekend, if I get to sleep in, I'm guaranteed to wake up with a headache.
So what's sleeping in? Like,
as in, for example, you know, you normally wake up at 6 something,
yeah.
but because you know you haven't got to go somewhere, you call it like 9 a.m. for your wake up routine instead.
So you wake up at 6 normally?
No,
Or
probably
you have to wake up at 6?
No, I have to wake up at 6 for like whatever I'm
Work.
planning.
Oh,
for.
right,
Yeah,
right.
yeah, yeah.
So if you decide to sleep
If
in...
I decide to wake up at 9, I've got a headache
wow.
because I've changed the
But
schedule.
how bad is it? Like,
If for example I stay, like if the headache makes me want to lie in more,
it gets worse. Right.
It gets worse. If I get up and potentially with breakfast potentially pop a painkiller or sometimes if it's not bad enough, like just drink water and get out, get some fresh air, it might be gone. But yeah, I think migraines are one of those few things, and it's not me calling for a bandwagon of migraine support from now on.
Yeah.
People need, but it's more one of those things that it's a very invisible kind of pain that you deal with that, like, I've seen some people get really bad from it and have to go home and stuff from work and stuff like that. But I think generally speaking, it lingers in the background to the extent that you really have to deal with it. Either take a painkiller or go home. It's one of them ones. But everyone gets it to a certain extent, and I think it can be passed down in families. So it's quite common that, for example, if your siblings or your mum and dad have it, you tend to have it as well. So like, for example, my mum and my sister do have it. So it's quite normal.
Did you always suffer from it as a child, or was there a point where you started?
So I wouldn't remember. So that would probably go as far as like 10, 11, 12.
Wow.
Yeah. Which is kind of leads on to the story. At the age of like 14 or 15, I had like almost a 6-day long migraine. 6 days, 7 days.
Whoa.
The usual routine wasn't working. It happened during Ramadan as well. And obviously, naturally, Ramadan is that change of schedule, right? So it got to a point that I was just like, nah, this is too bad. Mom was like, go A&E. Like, there's no other way you can... Like, you've been sitting in the dark, you've had your painkillers, you've done everything. Like, go A&E. There's no way you can, leave this as it is now. So they did as they would with something like that, they did a CT scan to be sure. And in the CT scan, they found... a cyst.
Right.
So depending on what the term that comes before the cyst, it then dictates what that cyst is made of.
Right.
But if you think of a cyst as a bubble or some kind of lump in the area, it can be on skin or anything of the sort. But obviously this one was in the brain. They call it an arachnoid cyst, which when I first heard, I'm 15 years old, I'm sitting in my ones, I'm like, bruv, I've got a spider in my brain.
Yeah.
So, but then eventually, like, the more I understood, and there was a neurologist that got in touch with me and said, look, this is what it is. It's basically a cyst which is filled with cerebrospinal fluid, which is the same fluid that encases the brain anyway. It is fairly large, but it is most likely that you probably had it from birth.
How large is it?
So about 2 centimeters in size,
So
which
about-
obviously. Yeah, but obviously for the brain, that's significant size, yeah. They were like, we would have known if it was affecting you on a day-to-day basis. We don't know migraines to be an issue, but where it is in the brain, it would impinge on certain nerves that would make your facial muscles hurt. So you would know if it was getting bigger. Obviously, with the way NHS works, follow-ups weren't great.
Yeah.
So I tried to make sure I had my regular MRI scans and stuff like that. Alhamdulillah, no development since that first one. Like,
and when was the first one?
The first one, like I said, 2015.
Okay.
Yeah, 2015. So I was, like I said, I was probably about 15, 16 when then.
You were 15 in 2015?
I'm trying to remember now.
Raw, man. You're young
No.
blood.
Wait. Right. What am I talking about? My maths is completely off. I can't remember if I was 15 or if it was in 2015.
Okay, because you scared me, bro.
No,
You got migraine, bro.
How old are you, bro?
It's coming up now.
How old are you?
Right now?
Yeah.
26.
6. What year were you born?
95. So what would that
Okay,
be?
so my sister's age, 26.
27?
In this country,
26,
yeah?
27.
Yeah. I was gonna say red passport, but it's not red anymore. Yeah, I think I'm 27.
Okay, yeah. So
27.
2015 is what? How many years
2015
ago?
would have made me
It's
18.
almost 10 years ago, bro.
Yeah.
That's bonkers, fam.
Yeah, that's bad. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
sure.
that would have made me 20. So no,
Yeah.
it was when I was 15.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, because like
So
I
it
said,
hasn't grown since then.
hasn't grown since
Alhamdulillah.
then, alhamdulillah. And that to me was obviously
Yeah.
that was big news. But the moment I came out from that, I was just sitting there thinking, but like, I'd be an idiot to get hit in the head again.
Right.
Right, because you're reading up stuff. Obviously, some stuff will tell you got cancer immediately, but there's other stuff you're just like, something's there now, right? Wherever there's arguments about anything on the matter, why would you do that to yourself, basically? So it kind of became a bit of a fascination for me. So in some ways, it wasn't good because it was more of an obsession of what the hell it could be. But like
for a very long time, it kind of just it went, but in my head I was just like, I'd love to know more about it, because no one really explained it to me very well. And you're 15, 16, you're sitting in a hospital bed, and everyone's just kind of saying like, you're good to go, and you're like, but I've got something in my brain, like no one's telling me what the hell this is. So yes, you bit by bit, I think you become obsessed with a certain area because you want to know about it yourself.
Yeah.
And I think for me, that kind of stuck with me throughout a lot of my education. I was really interested in anything, like anyone said anything brain related, my eyes would light up because I wanted to know more. But with that, I think what ended up happening is across my studies, when I first started in sports science, I wasn't really sure if I was going to go down that route, but I was intrigued in other things, like weight loss and kind of stuff like that. Because naturally you get involved in the things that you're doing at the time. But bit by bit, as I moved towards second, third year of my degree, and then moved towards like my masters, I started to realize, oh wait a second, there's actually an avenue for me to push down this understanding of neuromuscular fatigue, which is a fatigue that goes from the brain all the way to the muscle. Because there's different types of fatigue, but neuromuscular fatigue defines that area of the brain to muscle connection. But with time as well, you get a development of techniques that can measure these kind of things. Once upon a time, people were like, you know what, I can tell you're fatigued because your 76th jump is not as high as your 75th. Just raw methods, right? Yeah. But nowadays, there's much more refined ways of doing that, and that like moves towards the the areas of neuroscience and things like that, which are areas I never thought I'd be interested in once upon a time, but alhamdulillah, I've now been able to pursue. So I sat down with my supervisor, who had kind of gone over a different area, because my master's project was looking at risk of infections for MMA athletes, because I found that certain people that cut weight, they kind of report being ill after, or being ill at the time that they cut weight, or being ill straight after a fight.
When you say ill, what do you mean? Like
standard cold, like
right.
flu, cold, all that kind of stuff, right? Like got the shivers, staying at home, not jumping out.
Just after the fight or after the weight cut?
So that's what I was trying to say. It was either like at the time of the weight cut, after the weight cut, or some have reported it after.
Right.
But that reporting after, it wasn't as relevant, because you're like, well, you just had a fight, right? So you're not sitting there kind of worried about that. And even me, like, even when we used to do like mini comps, you kind of want to cut weight because you just want to cut weight. You feel good about it, right? Like, I feel like fighting now, so you do some form. Even I used to feel really bad, like towards that period of time. And you can argue, well, of course, you just put yourself through a weight cut. But it was that, like, why am I getting ill though? Do you see what I'm trying to say? So my master's project was on that kind of stuff. It was to look at like risk of infection. So we looked at things like the proteins that are around your mouth and your saliva. Generally, they can kind of tell you a bit about risk of infection or risk of upper respiratory tract infection. But when I finished that,
all right. So, sorry about the technical difficulty. So you were talking about testing methods.
Yeah. My supervisor got me in touch with another lecturer that was there at the time. And I mentioned this in the previous podcast. I was potentially going to go to another uni to carry on my PhD research. Well, to start my PhD research, but to carry on in this area of like infections and all that kind of stuff. But he said, look, we have this machine here which can measure the pathway from the brain to the muscle in real time.
Why is that important?
Why is that important?
Why would you measure the brain to the muscle?
So if you think about MRI, it's considered like a gold standard in brain imaging. And I mean, a radiographer would butcher me for that statement, but like what I'm saying is to the general public, when they think of brain scans, you think of an MRI image immediately, right? But anyone that's done an MRI will probably have realized that it's taken them about 45 minutes to get that done, right? And then probably 2 years to get that on the NHS as well. Yeah. So it produces high quality images, no doubt about that, but it took 45 minutes to get that image, or to get those images. That's not a real-time analysis of what's going on. So for example, now, if I pissed you off, right, I wouldn't be able to see that change, because 45 minutes later you might be okay and that last image was taken. You see what I'm trying to say? So real time is important, because if you're looking at, for example, I don't know, like if you're a sports scientist, you might be interested in ballistic power, right? Rapid movements, you know, the kind of stuff we see in wrestling. How would you measure the brain activity if it came out 45 minutes later via processing of imaging?
So how would you even do that though?
Yeah, so that's the interesting thing.
Because you're in the MRI, how are you going to be wrestling when you're...
Well, that's the thing. So MRI is now, you know, it's becoming much more refined. There's fMRI now, which is functional magnetic resonance imaging. You can do smaller level movements now while imaging's being done. Yeah. It's not my area of expertise. It's something that I'm trying to develop. It's why I'm, you know, trying to visit Oxford and understand a bit more how they do some of these things. But with this machine, which is called transcranial magnetic stimulation, I might ask you guys to pull up a video. You might see it. It's quite fun actually. But it uses a principle known as Faraday's principle, and that is, if you have enough fast-moving magnetic waves, it produces electrical conductance or electrical activity. It can produce electricity basically. So it uses that principle to make.
So say that again. So
if you have fast enough moving magnetic waves, if that frequency is fast enough, it can produce electricity.
So like an engine almost, like a
bit like that, but like,
you know those little you get in electric cars.
Yeah, so
not electric cars. You know those little radio control cars. They've got the coil and the magnet in there.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't know if, like, I'm not an engineer, so
I'm just thinking how to. Okay, so if the magnetic
waves are moving at such a high frequency,
but how would they move though?
So you need a motor or some
kind
of,
right. Okay, I understand now. Yeah, okay. So you have to create that.
You need to create the energy for it to do that. Yeah. But at the end point, there would be some electrical activity.
Right. Okay.
Why is that important? Well, ultimately, in this machine, transcranial magnetic stimulation, you have a coil. Yeah. You have this big machine that's responsible for generating that really fast-moving magnetic wave. But at the end of it, the output is from a coil. This coil comes in different shapes. And that's the actual magnet bit. And you direct it on the head of the participant. Okay.
That's nuts, bro. Almost like a gun, almost.
But the coil is a lot more friendly. It's either like circular shaped or figure of 8. Well, it doesn't look like a figure of 8 to you. It just looks like 2 circles. But the inside magnetic rods are going in.
So what does it look like? What is what's it called? Bring it up.
If you just type in TMS machine, it should come up. But and there's another one which comes in like as a double helix like shape, so it comes like a cone like shape. No, scroll down.
Is it like this?
Yes, that's the one. Yeah. It's literally the machine I've been using. Yeah.
Make it smaller in there so we can't see it. Go deeper, bro. Go deeper. Go.
Well, obviously I'm trying to zoom in, aren't I?
Yeah. What's going on?
I don't think you can do that on Insta, to be honest.
You can't.
Yeah. If you just type
they
in,
probably can see it, but we
if you type in transcranial magnetic stimulation or just well, I mean, some of these will do the job, to be honest.
Okay, I see that number.
Yeah. So if you go slightly up, that one there with the on one more to the left.
Left. Yeah, that one.
That one there. Yeah.
Go open a new tab. Open image, a new tab.
Yes.
Okay, so that's what a figure of 8 coil looks like. Right. Like to you, it looks like two circles, but inside there are magnetic rods that are basically intersecting.
Yeah.
In this figure of 8 fashion, and that where they intersect is basically where the strongest current will be produced.
Right.
Okay. So what they're doing in that particular picture is they're aiming it at a particular region of the head, and what we're trying to do is obviously our nervous system works off electrochemical signals, and the only way that happens is something called an action potential. It's when you're changing the potential of energy, right? But that can only happen via, like, for example, you thinking of a thought or thinking of doing something, and therefore that information is processed into generating more brain activity in a certain region. Then that sends the information to the muscles, and then the muscles does it, right?
Yeah.
Or the opposite being external environment. You touch a hot kettle, the hot kettle sends that information directly to your pain receptors. Then that information tells you to pull it away. Then you kind of say ouch after. Then your long-term memory tells you to never touch that damn thing again. There's a couple different integrating centers that are involved, right? in the case of TMS, what we're doing is we're generating that current via a machine to make that muscle move or to make you do something, but you're not in control of it. It's involuntary. So if I want to make your finger twitch, I can make that machine make your finger twitch.
How would you know where to put it?
So the brain is amazing in the fact that it has a map.
Yeah, bring up the brain map, bro.
It's called a homunculus or motor homunculus. So
But while you're doing that, Naz, you know, yesterday, it's really strange. Yesterday,
yeah,
I watched a film
yeah.
with Robin Williams and not Nicolas Cage. Why has it escaped me, Mo? Robert De Niro.
Okay, yeah.
It's called The Awakening.
Okay.
Have you seen it?
I haven't. No.
So Zach, just open up a new tab, bro, quickly.
Is it any good?
It's about
that is
What's
the
it
one,
called?
by the way. So yeah, don't worry.
The Awakening. So this got to do. He's a neuroscience. Is a neuro.
This looks like a horror movie.
No, The
Robert De
Awakening.
Niro.
Robert De Niro. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, that's an old school movie, bro.
It's like 90s. Yeah, go down. Robin. Yeah, that's it. Scroll down. So Awakenings. It's called Awakening. Sorry, go to the Wikipedia article. So basically, this neuroscience,
Scientist.
yeah. So he goes into this Dr. Michael. I don't know if it's based on a true story, but scroll down. There's a specific disease that these people have, is that they are in. They suffer from encephalitis. Yeah. So what happened was.
What, they sleep too much?
No. So they had this. They literally don't move, but when you throw a ball at them, they just react to it.
Right.
And they
Is that a
catch
real
the
disease?
ball. I think it is.
I think it is,
I
yeah,
think it
yeah.
is. So this guy was in a sleep-like state for 30 years. So as a kid, he started off with. So it's very close to Parkinson's.
Right. Okay.
So what the guy did was he realized. So they thought that they were in a coma, but they were responsive. So this guy came in and he done some brain analysis. You know those, what's that thing that they put something on their head and then they can see the brain activity. I don't know what the machine is called, but
It might be electroencephalography.
yeah. So what happened was he would touch him or nothing would happen, but when he called his name, he would see brainwaves.
Interesting.
So it's very. I mean, it'd be worth like looking into it.
Yeah, that sounds like an interesting.
It's a very
movie to
interesting
me.
film. Yeah. So it's all about the brain and how.
Yeah,
but I'm not gonna actually. I'm not gonna spoil it for you, bro.
Oh, yeah,
but
there's no
it's a very
spoilers.
interesting story. I don't know if it's based. I didn't do the research on it.
Yeah.
And it was completely. I didn't really plan to talk about it today. I didn't watch it for research, but
Yeah.
it just kind of.
That sounds like an interesting.
Very
film,
interesting film, yeah. So and then he talks. Then they gave them a drug. They came out of their
Okay. Yeah,
their coma. They literally came out of it. And then you see that
Yeah,
basically.
I want to watch it, bro.
Yeah, it's a good story. It's a good story. So going back to your
Yeah.
brain.
Okay, so what you're looking
map.
at there is, you're looking at the brain in terms of right and left, and for those that kind of don't know or just need to remember, the brain works in a contralateral fashion.
Yeah.
And that is the fact that your right side controls your left side of your body,
Right.
and the left side of your brain controls the right side of your body. And
No way.
Yeah.
That's mad.
So it's something called the cortical spinal tract, and that's basically the fact that the neurons are traveling down the right hand side, but at some point as they get towards the brainstem, they basically go the opposite way, and they travel down. Some of them will carry on going the same way, but that's for different reasons. But most of them will intersect and kind of cross over, and they're mostly the neurons that are responsible for you moving. So if I want to stimulate, for example, your left finger muscle, I would stimulate the right side of your brain at the specific region.
And you know that's that for the fingers, basically.
Yeah, so the way we know that is specific is because that right there, known as the motor homunculus or the mini human, is a representation of if we were to travel along the side of your brain, okay, each region, like including the folds and everything, right? We call them sulci and gyri, but each of these folds.
So can you bring up a picture of a brain, please, bro? Because I'm very visual.
Yeah, no, of course. Yeah.
And you're doing an amazing job for the audio listeners. No,
Yeah,
I'm not being
okay.
sarcastic. I'm actually being.
Okay. Because I'm trying to do my best. But
No,
I do
you're
a lot of
doing
hand
really well.
motion.
No, you're doing really
Yeah,
well. You're doing
okay.
really well. I just want for the guys who are watching so they can
This
get
is where
like
the
a
lecturing
visual.
comes in handy.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
So if we get that up, yeah. So where the pink and the yellow are intersecting, right?
so that the pink is the frontal lobe.
So
Yeah.
the pink is the frontal lobe. The
Which is
yellow
at the front of the head,
parietal.
right?
Yeah, so it's at the front of the head. Parietal, you've got occipital, and then you've got temporal. So without going into lobes at the moment, if I was to just follow the line of that frontal lobe from where it starts at the bottom near the green,
Yeah.
and then go upwards, right? I'm moving towards the center of the brain, aren't I?
Yeah.
And then that's mirrored generally on the opposite side. For the most part, the brain is symmetrical.
Right.
Okay. When I'm traveling across that line, there are different parts of that area that are full of neurons densely populated for a specific body part.
Oh.
Right? And as we get towards the center of the brain, it actually folds in. That folding in is then when we start moving towards deeper regions, the more distal areas. So for me to stimulate the quadricep,
You have to cut the head open.
no,
right?
no.
Okay.
If you think about that picture that we had from Instagram again, like the coil, the reason why that coil was different compared to the one that we saw on Google Images,
Yeah.
is because that kind of coil is responsible for stimulating even deeper structures.
Right.
Whereas we can use that kind of basic coil to stimulate some of the things like the fingers, because it's more on a surface. It's more on the outer surface.
So how did we find these out? We found these out in quite barbaric ways, isn't it?
It started off from something known as transcranial electric stimulation.
Yes, I've seen that.
Which was a lot more.
Type in transcranial electrical
electric stimulation. Yeah, it was a lot more.
Zach's
painful.
getting an
If I get
education
the spelling
today.
right, yeah, you gotta give me £25. Say it. What is it?
Why £25?
Transcranial.
Transcranial
Cranial electric stimulation.
Hey, bro.
No, you just press enter, bro.
You were done after you put it.
I love Google, man. Did you mean?
Yeah, I did actually. I don't know if don't bring up any videos though, bro, because we might get banned.
Yeah, I mean you can even pull up a diagram. To be honest, it's fine, but
What, like this one here?
no, maybe not that one.
Like that dude there.
The-
But they actually cut the brain open, innit?
No.
Like
no,
initially, like I saw like, or was that Frankenstein or something?
Yeah, no. So
But how did they find it out? That's
so
what I want
You
to know.
can't do any of the live stuff like that.
I'm talking about back in the day.
Back in the day, the biggest ones that ever allowed us to understand how neurons work, or
Yes.
how we managed to get one neuron to communicate with another, a lot of it was done with frog muscles.
Oh,
Right, so they
okay.
dissected a frog, put them in certain solutions.
I've seen
changed
that,
the
yeah.
change the external. You see it in some films as well, and they would try to show a psychopath's little lair.
Yeah,
You'll
yeah,
see,
yeah. They've got like a frog
they've
opened
got
up like that.
Yeah, like spread out across the petri
Have you
dish.
done anything like that?
No. It's not actually my background
Okay.
area, but I'm sure some physiologists would have done stuff like that. But yeah, like a lot of the initial understandings of a neuron came from squid and frog fibers and stuff like that. We're
But
kind of
how confident though were they that because an animal works like this,
yeah.
it would work on a human, or they're just giving him some context basically?
The beauty of research is it depends on what's currently known in the area, and you always just build on that. There's a really famous like saying with regards to science, but science isn't absolute truth, because the concept of absolute truth is a lie. You don't know this is absolutely true. It's the closest approximation to the truth. Like we just know it is. It's the closest to what the truth is.
Yeah.
We're just trying to get there, or on the road there, and. I think a lot of the time with researchers, you go on what's available. And I think at that time, they just knew that the frog fiber was very anatomically similar to the human muscle fiber. Could they then do a human muscle fiber experiment without ethical ramifications?
Yeah,
Probably
of
at
course
the time. So you kind of build off, I guess, the animal studies, and then you go from there. Similarly, you see a lot of rodent studies for human brain, implications. But that's because, ironically, like, the rodent brain is very similar in many ways to the human brain, so it makes it a perfect example of understanding. Does it exactly translate into humans in the same way? No, it's why it's called translational sciences. There's a lot to still understand when crossing over from the animal world to the human world. But I mean, that's the beauty of it, right? Like you're just figuring it out as you go along.
I interrupted you, sorry. So you're talking about the deeper...
So the deeper cortical structures, as you can see, like there,
as we're moving, for the audio viewers, like as we're moving towards the internal structures of the brain or internal folds of the brain, this is where we get to stimulating the areas which are more distal or further away from the brain, such as your feet, your quadriceps, your hamstrings, those kind of muscles there. The reason why a lot of studies do the finger, it's a muscle we abbreviate as FDI, it's because the area of the brain that represents that finger muscle is quite large relative to the size of the muscle. Because generally speaking, if you've got bigger areas of the muscle or bigger areas of the body, there should be a larger representation of the brain, which should be responsible for triggering it, right? But for some reason, the FDI, the finger muscle, for such a small muscle, the brain has a large area representing it.
Is it because we touch and feel?
Exactly. So if you think about like
sensory kind of, yeah.
Exactly. Like if you think about all the muscles we have in our body, we've got all our basic ones like your quadriceps, your biceps, but then literally the rest of it tends to be in our fingers and our feet. In our hands and our feet. It's why, like, if you think about robotics, the reason why robots look like robots is because they can't do the really fine movements that you find in the hands and the feet. When people recover from stroke, they find that they can eventually walk and do, but if you ask them to write a sentence perfectly, nice writing, that's the kind of skills that are taking a long time to come back.
Right.
Because the amount of neural information or neural coding and signals that are going towards that area required, it's a ridiculous amount, and the brain needs to kind of retrain to do that.
You know, subhanAllah, like, you know, when you talk about brain, yeah, and we're involved in programming, yeah, and the amount of code that goes into something that is pretty straightforward, like a website, for example, or even an app or whatever. I'm trying to debug that when it goes wrong, and so you think of obviously the brain is a supercomputer,
on a different level,
and for me, it always amazes me how, where's this coding? Where does it exist? Do you understand?
Where is the original script?
Yeah, but think about it, bro. Like, because obviously, when I make a website or we work on we've coded that, right?
Matrix, bro.
Yeah. So if you wanna figure it out, you can go back, find, debug the code.
But we like, as human, like the whole creation
that,
against atheism, this kind of thing. Yeah, when you look at, there had to be some sort of coding, bro.
It's got to be, like it's crazy.
You can't code, like, if we can create a computer that codes itself, then Terminator Judgment Day, bro.
Literally. No.
But even that, someone had to code that, bro.
Yeah. And it's and that's that, like, it's ironic because neuroscience back in the day used to be all of that, this, understanding of neurons and dissecting brains and all that kind of stuff. Neuroscience nowadays is becoming heavily focused on computer sciences and engineering. A lot of former engineers are becoming neuroscientists because this is where neuroscience is. Like TMS, that machine right there, I'm having to understand signals in a way that I've never needed to understand ever in my life.
It's like machine learning, isn't it? Like, me and Zach went to a conference about, before we I think the first year we opened, didn't it? The business, that Google one.
Oh, I didn't go.
Oh, you flopped it, bro. Me and Hamza went, bro. We went to this room.
Okay.
So this room, they said to us, you can't bring your phone. Oh, you can't bring your phones in here.
Wow.
Because what we're going to show you,
you're not allowed to share.
You can't. If we find out that you've gone on social media or anything, and we can actually. So don't come in here if you're gonna. So
it's mad.
So I actually was scared, bro. I ain't gonna lie to you, bro.
You didn't come back after that.
Yeah, bro. I was scared. So I walked in, and then they were talking about AI and machine learning, bro. They blew my mind. I give you an example. There was one piece of code, one piece of software. So what happened? Like before, when you've got, so you work with loads of data, right? So you can imagine you pump that data into a piece of software, and then that software's job is to help you dissect that data, right? So put it X against Y, and then over time and blah 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 blah. Yeah. So there was this one above. I don't know how many hundreds or thousands of software engineers worked on this. Yeah. So the BBC have massive. So think about making a documentary. Yeah. Like I'm actually feeling it now. So Imran, how much we've got? 50, say 40, about 50 video, say about 40 something episodes. Yeah. Okay. All of that the more episodes you make, the more video you have, right? So Imran's tasked in making clips now. Yeah? So Imran, what do you have to do? You have to watch all the clips and then decide, yeah, like which clips I want to cut and whatever.
Yeah.
So what the BBC have, they have this machine learning. What it does is, if I type in capuchin monkey,
Yeah.
so is that what it's called, capuchin?
I don't know.
I think it's
think it
capuchin.
is, yeah.
Yeah. So like a species of monkey.
Yeah.
It will look through all the archives
Yeah.
and pull out the start and finish times of the clip where that specific species is on camera. So if I'm a documentary
way.
filmmaker, that's how they make these cuts, or looking through archives, for example. So if you were looking, you wanna, I don't know, it could that machine, for example, historical figures. Show me all the videos that's
that
related to
individual, yeah.
Einstein, yeah, for example, and they'll bring all the videos of Einstein or whatever. So anyway, a few years down the line, they brought out this app called Google Photos. Have you got Google Photos? So I'll show you, yeah? If you go into Google Photos and type in dog, try it now on your phone.
I don't actually have Google Photos.
You don't?
No.
Okay, 1 second, I'll show you.
Wait, it
mine.
might actually be a pre-installed app.
So watch this, yeah?
Do you have a dog though?
No, I don't, but it might show your face though, bro. Whoa! So watch this. yeah?
Emotional damage.
Look,
Bro.
1 second, Zach's in here somewhere, bro. 1 second.
Emotional damage.
So look, dog. Hey, that's one of my kids, bro. What the hell?
That's what you get, bro.
Oh! Look at this!
Oh no!
Oh, that's deep, bruv. Where's the camera? Where's the camera?
Right there, bro.
That's a picture of me. Oh, Google's done a mad. But how did it? Is there a dog somewhere in this photo?
Google's
you
my
dirty.
guy, bro.
1 second. There's not even a picture of a dog somewhere in the background. Oh, I think it's this fur here, bruv.
Yeah.
I think it's this fur. So it does get it wrong. But obviously, and you know, where does this code sit? The
It's
code
a start.
it sits in the cloud.
Yeah.
So you send the query from here. It uses the machine learning, and this is what they were talking about. So they're using it
So they
for
eventually develop that into
exactly. Yeah. So that imagine. So think about the brain. How we're doing it constantly, bro.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
And then memory bank, going into your memory and thinking, oh, what does a dog look like? And it goes back in.
And we're expected to add new things on a daily basis up until we pass away.
That's nuts, bro.
That like imagine
true,
adding
though?
new command lines until
Is
you
it
die.
exactly? Is this true? Zach, you might be able to Google this. Yeah, there's a certain amount of faces that we can remember. So your brain has like a number,
Okay.
and then what happens is as you learn more, it forgets others. So the way it works, just type it in. That's why, you know, when you're living in a big city,
Yeah.
up to 10,000 faces. So that's why they're saying, you know,
more than I need anyway.
yeah, no one knows 10,000 people. But think about the information that
of
we're
course,
every day. That's why sometimes I think to myself, I know this guy.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, it says, ever wondered why you can recognize someone in the street but can't remember their name?
yeah.
There's a scientific reason.
Interesting.
So when we did my PGCE,
Yeah.
we had a memory expert come in.
Okay.
Because you're a lecturer, right? Yeah, so how do you get the student to kind of pay it and remember the important things, right? So what he said to us, he goes, your brain can only process per second, I can't remember a certain amount of items.
Right.
So for example, right now, you hear my voice, Zach's typing away over there, the air conditioning, maybe you can hear people outside. So all these things. But what happens is your brain zones everything else out, but it's still processing that information.
Yeah.
And it decides to kind of...
11 million bits. 11 million bits of information every second.
Yeah.
That's nuts.
So imagine it's processing it. So even though you can't hear it, like this is just, I'm talking about hearing, bro, let alone sight and, you know, you got your peripheral vision, you got your... So anyway, he was talking about, he talked to us about this memory thing. So, you know, sometimes you walk past someone, so he goes, what happens is, Because sometimes you kind of walk a certain. So I've met you on the street. What's your name? What's your name? What's your name? I forgot. Then you walk, and then eventually you remember the name, right?
back sometimes,
Because it's like this little librarian.
Yeah.
They've gone to the shelf where the name used to be.
Yeah. Picked it out of the archives.
It's not there.
Yeah.
So what it's done is it's kept on looking.
Yeah.
Which was like, so I was
That
like,
is-
subhanAllah,
that
that
is
is.
Sometimes you go home, you're in your bed, you're like, oh, that's his name.
It comes to you randomly as
yeah,
well, innit?
yeah, subhanAllah, bro.
The brain's amazing.
It's an amazing. So you getting to test the. You must be. Is it boring work, bro? Be honest, bro.
I don't think there's ever been a day I'm bored.
Serious. Because the data entry part of it and the collating of data.
There are certain times. Data analysis is mundane.
Yeah.
Right? Your eyes are drooping because you're looking at the same kind of
Yes.
things all the time, and a lot of them are. So, for example, there are certain things we could potentially code for the system to recognize immediately.
Yeah.
So, for example, if I'm looking at an action potential that's been evoked from that machine, so I stimulate your bicep or your and I'm looking for the peak to peak of that, electrical potential. I could probably code something to say, can you just search for peak every single frame?
Right.
And it would just give me a nice little line graph, and showing me everything. But there are certain things that we're looking for that can only be done by the naked eye.
Right.
And yeah, sure, we can compute certain things to make sure it's accurate in terms of what we're looking for, but we still have to set the cursors for us to see that visually. How do you, for example, discard anomalies unless you've gone through them yourself? So that's the part that's mundane. It's basically the worst bit.
And who's measuring your brain activity while you're doing that, bro?
Nah,
There could be a perpetual kind of.
They probably could. They probably could, yeah. But
Do you ever experiment on yourself, bro? Like
I have,
most scientists do.
so yeah, no. You're
Like Morbius. I don't know if you've seen that.
I heard it so bad that I haven't.
Do you know what? Don't listen to the critics,
No,
bro.
I
liked
do
it,
plan
man.
on seeing it. I do plan on
liked it,
seeing
bro.
it. But
If you ever need
I couldn't bear to watch Jared Leto flop again on something.
Yeah.
if you ever need me, bro, I'm here.
Yeah.
If you want to experiment my brain on that, bro.
But you know what? If you know what the protocol is, you probably say no again. Though.
Oh, is
What's the protocol?
Like
then?
you're
So-
gonna die in 2 days.
No, we need you for longer than that. So yeah, a lot of the time the reason why the protocols don't work, like when I went to Oxford and stuff, I always think
When you say protocol, what the subject needs to.
what the subject needs to go through,
Right.
for the experiment to work. And I was explaining it to the other lot, like, because I was thinking, you guys do some crazy electrical stimulation, and they were looking at me thinking, how do you get ethics for what you do? Like, and I was thinking, what do you mean? You guys are doing the more complicated stuff. They were like, no, what you sound is way worse, and it's because our stuff is quite invasive.
Wow.
Like
When you say invasive, immediately I think of the back passage. Immediately. You know, he said invasive. In my head, I was like, the guy's probing people, like, bro.
Hamid, you're absolutely correct.
Serious?
I kid you not.
No.
I kid you not.
Excuse me? I thought you were joking.
No, I'm not joking.
So how many ends of salamis have you seen, bro?
No. Here's the thing. I don't have to see nothing.
Okay, alhamdulillah. So as someone else, the assistant does everything.
No. It's not even.
They do it themselves?
Yeah, you are able to do your own probing.
How
So
deep-
listen, so they probe
Yeah.
in the back passage,
I feel
then
like
you
we
make them
started
run.
on the run.
That's long, fam. I ain't running with nothing up my batty crease, bro. That's long.
I feel like we started in the wrong. Like, I need to sell this a lot better. We started with the probe, so I was hoping we didn't.
You said invasive, bro.
Fair. I tend to not tell anyone about it until I say, have you read the participant information sheet? Is it all good, yeah? And they're like, yeah, all good, bro.
So, because probing is like on the footer, like really tiny, bro.
T's and C's.
Yeah,
innit?
T's and C's. Yeah.
But okay, like the current project we're doing right now is, and this might be of interest to a lot of our combat sports listeners.
Yeah.
We know that if you go through rapid weight loss, right, you undergo extreme amount of dehydration. Like without going into too much physiology, generally speaking, the only way you can get rid of that water is via sweat.
Yeah.
It's why most people use heat as the method to induce that sweat. Right?
Okay, before we even get into that, because there's some people that listen don't even know what a weight cut is.
Oh yes, yeah.
Because
yeah.
why do people weight cut? Why is it like? Because, for example, there are different weight categories depending what. This is more combat sports, right?
Yeah.
So there are different. Bring up weight categories, please, bro. let's use the UFC for now.
Yeah. Let's use UFC for now. Yeah.
So you got, while Zach's bringing that up,
Yep.
so you got different weight categories.
Yep.
Now, obviously, there are thousands of different types of body types, and with UFC, what's a little bit different than boxing is there's way less weight categories, right? So if you go to the lightest one, not men's one, yeah. So 57 kilos. So they got 57. That's one of my legs, bro. So you got 57 kilos, and then the next one is 61. So how many kilos is that?
That's well, you got 4 in between.
4. And then the next one up, that's another. That's
66.
That's 5.
Yep.
The next one up,
I think it's 4 each
is it
time.
4?
Yeah, four, and then from 70 it jumps to 77. So you got
Yeah. So there's some that jump quite a bit.
So
Yeah.
as you move up higher, they jump up a
Yeah.
lot.
So the lighter ones don't really cut that much.
But that's because they struggle to cut because they've got less in the first place.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So. Let's look at the hard one. So it's the 155, 170,
The most popular,
185.
yeah.
That. So go to that one, bro. So you got 70, 77, 84.
Yeah. So you've got 7 kilos apart for
So,
both categories.
Yeah,
Or
7
for-
kilos apart. Now think about that, bro. 7 kilos.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
And most of them don't walk anywhere near that.
exactly. So so in your experience, how much do people lose in fight week roughly?
So
Like safely.
okay, so the safely bit is the
Okay. Forget safely.
that's the part.
Okay, sorry. So that's a stupid question. Stupid thing to say. That's why you've made a living out of people not being
it's
safe.
so good. I'll be honest. Like,
Roughly, in your experience, how much do people lose in fight week? So fight week is what is it? Monday
it's kind of basically the 5-6 days
Before the Saturday, yeah.
Friday night or Saturday.
Yeah.
So yeah, actually they tend to weigh in like a Friday night.
Yeah.
Depends on the type of event, you know.
Yeah.
Amateurs tend to do like all of it in
the same day,
daytimes
innit?
or same
Yeah.
or daytimes. Yeah. I mean, yeah, on the same day. But we've seen cases of like 10% in 1 week.
So what's temp? So if there's 70,
So if you're 7
7 kilos.
7 kilos in a week.
Is that bad?
Are you mad, bruv? Do you know how you started fasting? Yeah, did the intermittent fasting?
Yeah.
Yeah. In 4 weeks, how much did you lose?
From 103 to 97.
In 4 weeks.
Yeah. What's that?
103 to 97. That's 6 kilograms,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So you lost that in
So
a
you
month.
lost 6 in So
Man-
people are losing more than that in a week.
Yeah, but they're not fat though.
No. But think about that though. Think about that. 7 kilos.
And how would they lose it? Is it like sauna?
So that's what
and
he's
all
gonna.
that
That's what he's gonna
madness?
talk about now.
Okay.
Yeah, so,
So all right, leave the weights up there for a minute. Yeah. So they're losing 7 kilos. So let's look at someone like Habib, for example. Yeah. So he fights at what? But we know he's about 200 pounds.
and we know that
upwards.
the 10% for him is not even like, it's way more potentially. It's
Serious.
potentially way, and this is the thing, we can never get access to that kind of data. That kind of data is always hush hush.
Right.
Right? You get the odd nutritionist that says this is what we did. Fair enough, right? Like, but what I'm saying is a lot of these numbers are kind of kept because we don't know what they walk around at in general.
Yes.
And once upon a time, fighters were able to IV drip back after a weigh-in, which obviously led to some controversies after one FC had, a fighter die.
Yeah.
This is where things have become.
So the IV made it that they can cut even more, basically.
Yeah, because now they've found a way to drip that fluid back into the body without needing to worry about palatability,
for
about
the
the
digestive system and stuff like that.
Because
And you're not weaning it out either. Yes.
yeah. But this is what's crazy, right? Once upon a time, it used to be like, okay, I'm gonna diet ridiculously. Right? And somehow I'm going to restrict my carbohydrates, even though I need carbohydrates to train.
Yeah.
But I'm going to restrict it anyway because I need to do this diet thing, right? But people are advancing now in terms of understanding certain methods. So one of the most common ones that's coming out now in MMA, for example, is water loading.
Right.
And I remember at some point, like, there was a reviewer that responded back to like one of the things we brought up in a paper, and he was just like, or she was like, how does water loading make you lose more water? Please explain that. And I
So
said,
water loading is drinking loads of water. Right.
Exactly. So there's this new method nowadays, apparently, where you start off the week by drinking a ridiculous amount of fluids. I'm talking like 7-8 liters.
Can you die from that, bro? I heard someone died
Yes.
from drinking loads of water.
Yes. And this is what I'm trying to say. A lot of these methods that are being used, we know what it's like in a gym when we're training. When we do certain things that put our body at slightly risk, we're just like, come on, man, that's the aim, right? This is how we adapt.
Yeah.
But at some point, there are certain things where people think they're doing it successfully, but are there implications? And it's probably something we'll talk about later if we get time.
Yeah.
But like one of the biggest things that people think about if it works is, yeah, but have they been able to do that multiple times? All these fighters that we talk
What do you
about,
mean?
like all these fighters that we talk about going through concussions and all that kind of stuff. One of the things that we might end up talking about if we get time, or maybe for
We
another
will get
podcast,
time, don't worry,
is
bro.
longevity, right?
Yeah.
How many of them last to do that day in, day out? You think about someone like GSP, then you think about someone like Carlos Condit,
Yeah.
right? Two of the people in that division at the time that were amazing, but one fell off completely.
Yeah. Carlos Condit was like he was a
welterweight.
title holder, isn't it?
He was the title
Yeah,
holder
yeah,
at some
yeah.
point, but he just even like think of people like Matt Brown, right? These are people that have been in slugfests, right? But they don't come out looking very good after. And like Clay Guida, how many fights has he lost recently, right? He's in a slugfest every time, but now you're just starting to feel bad,
Yeah.
right? So we'll come to that another time. But like water loading is this concept where you drink so much, and yes, water is that. Like I always say this to students when I talk about hydration, just to like emphasize the point of water. You eat a lot of carbohydrates and you might get a bit pudgy, right? But you don't die immediately, right?
Well, hopefully not. Yeah.
You don't die immediately, like generally.
Oh,
speaking.
immediately?
Yeah.
Oh,
There's
no.
there's no carbohydrate that you can eat immediately at the spot, too much of, and then you die.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
There might be long-term consequences, but water is the only nutrient, right? If you drink too much of, you can actually die, and if you drink too little of, you can actually die. And that's where people don't realize, like hyperhydrating can lead to cellular swelling to the extent that those cells can pop
So that you're drowning, basically, almost.
in your own skin, right? Like
What do you mean, bro? Your cells pop, bro.
Because if you think about it, you're putting water into a pool, and it's got nowhere else to go unless you urinate.
Right, and they don't go to the toilet. Is that what it is?
Some might not, or you keep filling up the pool to the point that
I
your
see.
urination, your kidneys filtering that, are not keeping up with the rate that ingestion is going in. So as a result, like water balloons, they're just expanding, right? And then eventually, yes, they can pop. On the flip side of that, you carry on dehydrating yourself. Eventually, what's going to happen is most of the water in your body is actually in the cells. When the body realizes that it's running out of ingested fluids, it borrows from the cells. So water comes out of the cells to make it back into the bloodstream. So the cells start to shrink. They do the opposite. So being dehydrated means your cells shrink, and being like hyperhydrated, which is why we don't use the term dehydrated very much, because there's the opposite of dehydration is rehydration, but that's not a state. You can't say someone's rehydrated. It's hyper or hypohydration, like you'd say with someone who's got high blood sugars, hyperglycemia. Low blood sugar would be hypoglycemia, right? Not deglycemia. So it tends to be hypohydration and hyperhydration. Someone who's hyperhydrated is going through swelling. It's why you and the principle is like we can go on for days about.
What does it manifest like? What does it look like when someone's
so symptoms wise, water, sodium always follows water. So you can always see this, right? Someone who's dehydrated looks gaunt. If a fruit is dehydrated, it looks gaunt. Right. You can see the salt is...
Like, bring up Conor McGregor, bruv.
Yeah, so...
That's an extreme one, bruv.
Conor, TJ Dillashaw as well.
Look at this.
Do you remember?
Yeah, but that looks all right, though.
Yeah, I mean...
But look at his face, though.
Yeah.
Look at his face.
But in 8 weeks...
Now, bring up
what
Conor
is that?
McGregor, man. That because he shrinks a lot, bro. He fought at 145.
Yeah. But exactly. So if you look at
But
Conor...
BJ Penn fought heavyweight. Light heavyweight, all the way down to 155, right? Oh my God!
Exactly. So look at that. Look at the face. If you look at TJ Dillashaw...
Do me a favor. Can you bring up a picture of a rubber duck? You know there was one that you squeezed, the rubber chicken, bruv. Rubber chicken. Tell me he doesn't look like that, bruv. Every time I see that picture.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Bro, that's crazy, man.
No, but that's what I'm saying.
So that's a mixture of... Oh, look at his eyes.
Yeah.
And the skin becomes really elastic as well, innit?
Yeah, you can start to see all these changes, and funnily enough, humans, just like any other thing, like if they have water inside them, sodium tends to follow with it, right? So if for example something's really salty, what tends to happen
is water needs to come with it to balance.
Right.
Right. If you have something salty, the immediate need for water comes in.
Yes.
Right. And that's because the brain understands. There's a certain part of your brain which is known as hypothalamus. It recognizes that, okay, wait a second. Inside this swimming pool of fluids and salts, there's too much salts to fluid ratio. So we need to balance that out. And it's something we've all learned in like basic biology, this concept of osmosis and
yeah.
equilibrium. Those kind of concepts are happening on a daily basis. You like, you know, going to pee in the morning, all those kind. These are things based on a body clock and the hypothalamus recognizing that, you know what, I'm going to release less fluids today because this guy didn't drink enough and we need to preserve whatever we've got left. Okay. Or this guy drank a lot last night, so we're going to be able to clear out a lot of this, and it's going to probably look a little clear because we need most of the water to go, but we need to keep those essential proteins.
That's crazy, bro.
Yeah. And that's this is what I'm talking about. So like this concept of water loading and where it came about from is someone's obviously known a little bit about renal physiology. Someone knows a little bit about the kidneys when they came up with this idea. And the idea was you're going to put so much water in your body that you're going to start urinating because that is going to be the natural response, right? And the kidney goes into overdrive. We have hormones known as antidiuretic hormones known as vasopressin, and what happens is these hormones, the release or the stopping of the release of these hormones will then lead to more urine being excreted. So you can imagine someone drinking 8 liters is going to start urinating very frequently, right? The next day they then go to 6 liters. The next day they then go to 5, then they go to 4. And then by the time it's like weigh-in day or the day before weigh-in day, they're on 0.5 and then 0 liters. So as they're approaching weigh-in day, they're almost on nothing.
Yeah.
But the concept is that they've apparently tricked the kidneys. I know I'm talking like quite basic here. They've tricked the kidneys into just constantly urinating.
So even when they go to 0,
See, even when they go to 0, they're still kind of working off what they thought was originally happening, which is clearing out the previous amount of water that they've put in the body. To the extent that you're probably frequently urinating, even up to weigh-in day, and then probably have urinated up to like the max that your kidneys think they need to urinate the most of, which then probably means you're as dehydrated as possibly can be when you step on the scale.
Is there long-term damage to that, bro?
That's what we need to understand, and that's what no one knows yet.
That's mad.
But it's why, like, these are only guesses, these are only inferences. But if you think about some of the things that fighters are known for, and this happens a lot with athletes, and I tell this a lot, but like athletes kind of become irrelevant after they retire, right? So a lot of the time we don't understand them anymore. We don't really know what they're going through. Someone balloons into like the fattest guy you've ever seen. Like think about someone like Tyson, right? Tyson,
Hatton,
right? The reason why some of these look like a mess, so yeah, there's natural elements like depression, not being relevant anymore, you know, all that kind of stuff.
dipping
just enjoying
testosterone
life.
from overtraining.
Prince of the scene, bro.
Yeah,
Well, yeah,
Prince of the scene.
exactly.
Big, bro.
So a big area right now is actually looking at concussion and you know the effects it has on testosterone levels later on. I'm sure Amir would have a lot to say on that
100%.
particular matter. There are so many things, but like one of them is like this constant weight cycling from going from healthy weight to like ridiculous weights. That sometimes could cause massive changes in appetite regulation, and there's hormones responsible for that, which then means when you finally want to go back to normal, your hormones aren't kind of the same way they were when your appetite was normal, which then means your regular hormonal balance for eating and drinking has changed, which then means you can't escape that.
And I imagine for women it might be even worse
So
because they're very. They're obviously their hormones are way more acute, innit? Especially when it comes to their
they're a lot
monthly
more
cycle.
sensitive to change. Exactly.
Sensitive, that's it. Yeah.
And yeah, we ran a survey to look at the effects of weight cutting, and some of the individual responses we saw were things like people missing their periods, right, due to some of the, and it's
irregular bleeding as well, and all that
it's
stuff.
not,
Yeah,
exactly. And this thing is not known. Like there are certain sports like athletics which are known to be ruthless with how they've trained females in the past, and females have then as a result had massive appetite issues, and they've also missed their periods. It's quite it's an emerging area of research right now as well. So hopefully more of that will get.
Did you hear about the American footballer Aaron Hernandez? Yeah,
That's something I was gonna talk about
did you
at
read
some
about
point.
The murderer.
Yeah, he killed.
I think he killed his family, or
Yeah.
killed.
He went into prison That he killed. But so it's a long story. There's a whole Netflix documentary about it.
There's a whole Netflix
But they're
documentary.
talking about, did concussions result in his behavior change? And there's a lot of other. I think there's a few. Didn't they do a autopsy on one? Because one
It was
one
Aaron
football.
Hernandez,
Was it Aaron
It was
Hernandez?
Aaron Hernandez,
Did
yeah.
he write it in his will that he wanted his body donated because of that? I think there was one football player.
There's plenty of NFL players now that are coming out with that because they understand, and this area is crazy right now. So Aaron Hernandez was one of the first, not one of the first, but
It's a high profile
one of the most high profile cases where people started to
bring it up,
understand.
How do they do an autopsy if he's dead? If he's not dead?
No,
he's dead, bro.
He's dead.
He's dead?
He killed,
Yeah,
I think
he killed himself.
Yeah, he killed himself.
No.
Yeah. So if you type in Aaron
But if you didn't know who
Hernandez-
Aaron Hernandez like 3 seconds ago.
No,
bro.
I did. I saw it on Netflix.
Oh, right,
Yeah.
okay.
But I didn't know he died.
No,
He killed himself. He didn't die, bro. He
Yeah.
killed himself.
I swear he went into court. They took him into
Yeah,
court.
yeah,
He
yeah,
was
after
in
that.
prison.
All of that. They killed.
He hung himself, right? Or shot himself. Oh, I can't remember, bro.
I can't remember. I only know of his case as much because of the
concussion side of things.
yeah,
right?
because of what it implied. Yeah, what it implied. But yeah, you can actually see like his autopsy is available online on Google Images. You can actually see what happened to his brain. Yeah, you can see. So if you type in Aaron Hernandez brain scan or not brain scan, brain tissue, you'll see immediately what the changes are like compared to a normal human being. So that right there is Dr. Anne McKee. She's from I can't remember what university.
Boston.
Yeah, Boston University. That's it. And she's like I think one of the leading researchers as part of a brain bank in. So if you zoom into that screen right there or that picture right there, so she runs the CTE research.
Can I quickly ask you a question before you go in? Yeah, is it true that there are some tests you can't do apart from actually dissecting the brain, like scans?
Yeah. So
this was a dissection of his brain.
So this condition right there,
Yeah.
it's known as CTE, which stands for
CTE, yeah.
chronic traumatic encephalopathy, right? You can only diagnose CTE once
After
a person's
death,
died.
innit? Yeah, okay,
yeah. They're trying to get better at understanding it.
Whoa! Look at that hole in the middle of his head,
What
bro.
does that mean, though? What is that?
So you're generally like what you're looking at in the normal 27-year-old are obviously general intact brain like anatomical features. You can see the distinct change in colors from the top to the middle, and that represents like certain areas which are higher in fat and certain areas which are higher in just standard cells. Right.
So the darker parts are higher in fat.
It's actually the
lighter
opposite.
part.
The whiter parts are higher in fat because they're like all of these neurons are enclosed by something called myelin, which is the sheath of fat. And if you think about like electricity, fat is a massive insulator,
Right,
which then
yeah,
allows for faster traveling of energy. So that's where you're seeing most of the fat. The central region there, that little line is just underneath where the brain meets right and left.
Okay. Yeah.
So that little line there that goes from left to right is called the corpus callosum. It's kind of like, think of it as the wiring bridges which connect the right and left together.
Right.
And just underneath that is something called the fornix. And then on either side you have what we call the right and left ventricles. Those ventricles are where the cerebral spinal fluid, which is a fluid that travels around the
you see
brain.
those little? Are they holes or?
Yeah, so they're actual empty spaces.
Okay, right.
And those empty spaces are for the cerebral spinal fluid to travel in and out of.
Okay.
And the reason it travels in and out is for various reasons. It's amazing, subhanAllah. So you have the CSF, the cerebral spinal fluid, which is responsible for kind of clearing debris. So it's part of our lymphatic system. So it clears certain things. It's not an area I know very well, but it's responsible for kind of flushing out some of the waste products and then allowing for a refresh. And this happens during like the standard sleep-wake cycle. But the other thing that cerebral spinal fluid is really important for is as a fluid that encases the brain. If you think about the brain moving up and down, if it's in fluid, then it kind of takes
Shifts.
that impact
Okay.
and it shifts, but it shifts slower because it's moving against a pressure of or moving against the resistance of the fluid it's in.
It's like a water balloon.
It's like going like this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because if you the best way to think of it is an apple in a jar, right? If you had an apple in a jar and you shook the jar, right, the apple would crack in various different ways. But if you had it encased in like, let's just say oil, it would travel like slower and it will still smack against the inside of the jar, but it will travel against the resistive pressure that the oil is exerting.
Because it's viscous, it'll...
Exactly.
Yeah.
So our cerebral spinal fluid is kind of doing that as well. It's kind of helping encase the brain so that it doesn't kind of just shear along the inside of the skull all the time.
Yeah.
Right? The reason those ventricles are enlarging, and one of the biggest things that scans or tissue samples tell us about in ventricles enlarging, is that the tissue of the brain is what we call atrophying. It's going smaller, which means certain parts of the tissue are dying, which then means cells are dying. That's the only real way that ventricles can enlarge. I mean, it can happen acutely.
So the ventricles you're talking about is 2 holes in the middle of the brain.
Yeah, the reason why you're seeing bigger holes
Yeah.
is because certain parts of the brain are atrophying.
So what is that responsible for, that part of the brain? The central part?
It's a good question. I don't necessarily know the role of the fornix. Like I don't know what that specifically does. Based on what we know about some of the specific changes they found for someone like him,
Yeah.
I think it was the regions like the amygdala, the entorhinal cortex, the hippocampus, and these are areas. So the hippocampus is known for the creation of long and short-term memory. The amygdala is responsible for pain perception, emotions, mood. Other regions like the corpus callosum, that's responsible for the wiring between the right and the left side of the brain. So it allows for refinement of information to travel across both sides. So it means that everything you do is kind of in synchrony.
So this thing here is caused by concussion. Is that why it's bigger?
His one, yeah.
Yeah, so what they said with him is that he had, I think it was stage 3 CTE, which is like the highest they knew at the point. And the reason why is they were starting to see in the, because there's more, I think there's more images of his deep tissue breakdown. You might find it as you scroll down. There you go. So that's
actually his brain.
So yeah, so you're actually seeing atrophy. You can see now how thin that fornix is, like how small it's become.
It's that little...
Yeah. It's normally much thicker. It's like a thick chunk that travels down, but you can see it's almost like a hairline in terms of...
crazy,
yeah.
man.
And then there's one more. There should be another image if you come out of that. Yeah, there you go. So these... So
Which one?
So I mean... Yeah, let's go to that one. Right. So you're looking at different slices of the brain. So whenever they obviously take a chunk of brain, then they have this machine which slices it.
Like salami, basically.
Yeah, pretty much. But in really, really thin slices. And what you're seeing those little scatters of is a protein called tau. So do you mind pulling up on another screen a picture of a neuron? Just type in neuron. So everyone's kind of heard of a neuron in terms of the fact that we know any picture will do, yeah. So everyone's heard of a neuron. We know that these are responsible for transmitting information from either a neuron to a muscle or like to another, output cell, right?
You say everyone, but okay.
No.
That goes everyone,
Well,
everyone that works with you, bro. Yeah.
So everyone's heard of neurons. It's a
Yeah,
very
we've heard of
common
neurons,
term,
yeah.
And like those images are kind of like everyone kind of uses them in emblems. Everyone's kind of seen them before. Everyone knows that it probably means something sciencey. And a lot of the time, neurons are known for communication. The part that's really important is this particular picture doesn't necessarily show it, but it's fine. But that line there, right? Like coming out of that branch-like structure, that line called the axon, right?
Yeah.
It's where all that information travels through before it gets to the final destination or the next messenger.
Right. So a relay.
Yeah, they are relay neurons, but ultimately the axon is like that road that it travels through. So if you pull up so that one's good. So yeah, we get that one up. But you can see in this, the first axon we saw, it was like a nice cylindrical shape. But in this axon, you're starting to see there's almost like these sausage-like structures instead. And remember I was telling you like there's an area of the brain which is more fatty.
Yeah.
Okay. So the area of the brain which is more fatty or white is because of those sausage-like structures. They're called myelin. And they're basically multiple wrappings of fat. So that when information travels through the axon, it travels faster through those. Because
So it's basically like wiring. You've got the
but
the
these
insulation
wirings
around
are
it, but it's
insulated.
fat.
Yeah. The rest of them are not insulated. And that's why on top of the brain, we call it grey matter. And the inside of the brain, more inside, is white matter.
Yeah.
The white represents the fat of myelin.
Right.
The grey matter is all those branches that are not covered in fat.
And what they covered in? Nothing.
No, they're just standard cells. Like they
Okay,
have
right.
the standard cell apparatus. Yeah. So why is that fat important? Well, if we go underneath that fat, we're just left with that pathway of the neuron.
Yeah.
And what holds this neuron into this perfect, for example, trainway or railway for communication to go through are scaffolding structures, which like certain proteins are responsible for keeping it upright, right? One of those proteins is known as tau, T-A-U. Eventually, when a cell becomes damaged or when a neuron becomes damaged, they become compromised. And eventually they go through a process called phosphorylation, and they kind of disintegrate from the axon, and then they just form as clumps somewhere further away. When you see things like that, right, when you see tau build up all across the cell,
So where's tau there?
so it's so if you
So
go
back
to
to the other
other
picture,
picture,
the salami one.
yeah,
that one.
right, what you're seeing there, those stains are tau.
Oh, okay.
They've used a specific stain to see what will bond to tau, and they're seeing all of that is tau, right? That basically represents how many axons have disintegrated.
Would that happen naturally anyway, or is it just only from concussions?
So elevated tau is seen in Alzheimer's,
Right.
seen in dementia. So that's the, and this is where the issue
But I'm saying
comes.
from a normal brain.
Not in a normal brain, no.
So you shouldn't see that at all.
We shouldn't see tau stainings on a normal brain.
At all.
No.
Not even a little
because,
bit.
Because the tau should be intact. Like no axon should be disintegrating.
Right.
That's not a normal process. So like, I'm not a clinician, so to speak, which says that there's no certain amount. But what I'm saying is, generally speaking, seeing tau in a histological finding of a brain generally represents that neurons are disintegrating,
Right.
which is not a physiological process that should happen.
Right.
If it looks burnt like Hovis like that, bro.
Yes, if
not
you got
normal.
a toasty example there, yeah, then yeah, that's a problem.
And that can only be. You can only see that
This is after death.
after death.
Yeah, this is only after death, and this is why it's becoming a problem, because right, a lot of these signs you want to catch early, right?
Yeah.
But there's so much overlap of what concussions can do long term with things like Alzheimer's, right? And that's where the lines are being blurred. We don't know if is it potentially Alzheimer's, or is it the fact that it's accelerated because of what they've done previously? All of that is
You know
unknown.
what Coach Emil was telling me, Dr. Emil?
Yeah.
He was saying that, because he's deep into this field of testosterone, and he said that, boy, I might be getting this wrong. Hopefully next month when he comes, I'm going to make sure I ask him.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he said to me that in men the deterioration of the testosterone is a correlation with Alzheimer's. So if some people, I think there's been some studies that you can treat. I say treat, but prevent. So because men because of our lifestyle, our test levels are dropping way earlier than.
So a lot more sedentary now, isn't it?
Exactly, and with all the hormones that are in our foods and stuff.
Yeah.
He's gonna blast me after watching this, bro, because he'll be like,
Is that what I said?
you're trying to be a doctor again, bro. But like, again, don't quote me on this one. Next month, inshallah, I want to bring him on. I'm gonna definitely.
Low testosterone level and risk of Alzheimer's disease.
Oh, there you go. So he was. So I was correct in remembering that. Alhamdulillah, bro. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, so again, like he goes, if you train and you keep your test levels high, even with hormone replacement therapy, whereas if you get after a certain age and you've got like, for example, he said that, why is it a taboo? Of course, in sports you shouldn't do it.
Yeah, for the sake of cheating.
For the sake of cheating, yeah. But he's saying that if you're diabetic and you can't produce insulin, yeah. And remember,
no one's going to slate you for trying.
no one's going to slate you for. And the thing is, he goes, the problem here is when you start taking super physiological levels of testosterone.
Yeah.
Because if you try and bring
Try
it,
and live normally.
no, like, bring it back up to the normal levels.
Yeah,
Like for example, even for women as well.
Yeah.
He talks about hormone replacement therapy for women. So I know Davina McCall recently was there was an article. Type her up, bro. Type in Davina McCall hormone replacement therapy, and she was like, because of menopause. He goes, why don't we have what's it called, like on the NHS, the ability to have hormone replacement therapy to make that transition smoother, bro. You know, because obviously, especially at that age, lot of, yeah, here we go. Yeah. So about menopause, and actually the male version is menopause. I think is it menopause? Andropause. I think it's called. Yeah, andropause. But she was talking about that, like how hormones, and I think. Why do we talk about this again? Oh yeah, Alzheimer's. Yeah. So going back to I remember reading a while back about there was a certain scientist or someone that had an accident. No, it was an artist. He had an accident.
Yeah.
So a brain injury basically.
Okay.
That changed his personality completely. And subhanAllah, it's like, see if you can find it, bro. But he wouldn't have been the artist he was if he didn't have that injury.
Right.
So there was like this kind of talk about like,
Yeah.
even for example, bumping your head. Like we don't know, like, again, I'm talking to you like, correct me if I'm wrong, yeah? Say for example, you had a brain injury. Like I say brain injury, that's a bit harsh. So you had a knock.
Mm-hmm.
How unlikely is it that if you knock the brain a specific way, would it change your mentality or the way? Like for example, this guy was more riskier. Like he became way more riskier after this injury. Like he took way more risks in.
So that sounds very possible.
Yeah. So just explain to us a little bit about that, and we're gonna wrap up now because it's almost Maghrib, bro. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But bro, we're definitely gonna do another one, bro.
Yeah.
100%.
So,
This guy apparently woke up a genius because he got hit. He woke up 9 days later in a hospital, and then he just became like an art creative. Apparently.
yeah.
So talk to obviously you studied the brain
Yeah.
like 1 million times more than we have, yeah. So talk to us how could that something like that happen?
The irony is like.
And is that what happened to you? Is that how you got scientific?
No. I say took a few shots. Yeah. Like I study the brain, but it's amazing. Like some of us spend our whole life only studying one particular region of the brain, and even then we don't fully understand that. So, like the only thing I can probably say to explain that is when undergoing a brain injury, depending on the extent of the injury, depending on the location of the injury, a certain part of the region of the brain will be affected, okay, or more parts of the brain will be affected, or a larger area will be damaged, or so on. So different parts will then result in a different response. Someone will recover from a stroke, 2 people will recover from a stroke, and 2 of them will recover very differently because of what they've lost as a result of the stroke.
Right.
And this happens a lot, right? Someone is told they're never being able to walk again, and the other person is just told that your handwriting might look different. Okay, so and the reason why is the extent of damage from them and the area which is being mostly affected. So in certain cases, like for example, being more risky, right? There are regions of the brain responsible for making you less or more of a risk taker. Yes, is that embedded within nature, nurture, personality, and so on? Yeah, of course. But there are also certain parts of your brain which are responsible for allowing you to understand your environment and then decide on when to go, when to do something, when to not do something. Just earlier when we were talking about Aaron Hernandez, one of the biggest areas affected in retired pro boxers and stuff like that, and even NFL players, the amygdala, like that area responsible for processing pain. If that's dampened, you're probably going to take more risk because you can probably handle more pain. Whether it's doing physiological damage to the actual body is a different matter, but you didn't process it as much because you've got dampened sensations and pain. On the flip case, certain people have conditions where they maybe have hyperexcitability in that area, therefore they feel more pain, right? So it just depends on the area. So if a certain area, for example, via brain damage has been damaged to the extent that, let's just say, that region in the amygdala is slightly atrophied, then they will be less sensitive to pain. And the crazy thing is, it's in every form of the brain. Like the reason why people found out different regions of the brain were responsible for different things is not through the best of ways, but like in old school neurosurgery, people just took out a certain part of the brain and they figured out later.
Whoa. Oh, like when they did, was it called?
There's
lobotomy.
Yeah.
Lobotomy,
So you have a
for
few different-
for mental patients, basically.
Yeah,
That's not the correct term. What's the correct term?
Psychiatric patients
yeah,
or
psychiatric
in
patients,
psychiatric conditions.
Yeah.
But a lot of the time, the reason why they found out, for example, a certain area of speech was specifically for speech is because when that area was removed, that person forgot how to say certain things. You know, like, and that's how neuroscience developed, right? We found out certain areas were responsible for understanding language or understanding your face and stuff like that, because bit by bit, the absence of certain areas became known to how you responded.
I remember like episode of House.
No,
remember
we were
that?
going to ask him about that episode that we had with Amir, how that woman woke up Chinese.
Oh yeah.
Remember?
I think we actually already had that conversation.
I think we did.
We might have. Actually, no.
We had it with Amir, and we said we were going to ask him.
Yeah, we did say we actually shouted you out that episode. Yeah.
That might have been why I remember it so much.
Yeah.
It's funny. I actually don't have the answer to that. Believe
There was one. I think if you can pull up, I don't know if it's gonna allow us to show this, bro. But there was an episode of House.
Okay.
There's actually a few that's happened like this, yeah? When this person's having some sort of episode, yeah? And what happened was, he was talking, and what he was saying, he understood it, but no one else could. So he would say like, house, fridge, walk, snowfall. And the guys, he said like, I need a drink, but the words that are coming out are completely different, and he can't even understand. And there was another thing about they can smell words or something. No, smell sounds.
Is it this?
Hey, bro, don't play too much of it, yeah. Go back, yeah.
One.
Whack and sign.
I'll call 911.
White and sign.
It's proficient. Why disqualify the rush? I'm tabled.
The man's tabled, bro.
So
So that kind of like I can't remember.
very
what it was.
possible.
Yeah. Did you ever watch House?
I've not. I've seen. Like,
You gotta watch it, bro.
Yeah,
I think for you it'll be like quite interesting.
I've heard that it's got some.
It might be work for you though. That's the problem. It might be back.
No. I think it'd be interesting, but that's very possible. Like things like that are very possible. I don't know about waking up and speaking a completely different language as if it's
Not a
learned.
language.
No, I'm talking about accent, bro.
But
Her accent.
Her accent was changed.
Yeah.
But I beg you, let's just do it for old time's sake. Bring it up.
I just feel like I find it quite improbable based on my little knowledge that someone would acquire a new accent.
That's impossible, isn't it?
Yeah, I can't see that within. Mate, unless she's been to the afterlife and back and
Yeah,
learned
yeah,
a new skill
yeah,
somewhere,
yeah.
you know.
No, but the accent is deep though.
Yeah, so unless it's something learned, if she's already got it, and for some reason,
Here it is. What, you ready?
So fish and chips. Chips. I said that right?
Yeah. I said that.
3.5 years ago, she was rushed into hospital with a migraine, which left her with a voice she didn't recognise.
Do you ever worry, bruv? Do you ever worry like you get a migraine? You might.
No, I never thought I'd wake up Chinese.
Inshallah, not, bro.
He's gonna wake up. He's like, me and my boys, yeah, we went to the shop, brother.
I have not actually heard my voice in conversation for nearly 3 years now.
I feel bad.
Her initial response upon
Have you seen
hearing
this clip? Are we regurgitating something?
Never.
She woke up Chinese.
how
how she used to
from a
speak.
bank telephone recording
Good afternoon, thank you for calling.
was to long for her old accent to return.
Yeah, I'm not actually ringing about my policy though. I'm ringing for a quote. Do you still want my policy number?
I know it's me.
It's
But I feel like
heartbreaking
I
though,
wanna
bro,
say,
Miskina. I know it's just like
she
we
Yeah, all jokes aside,
Don't-
actually, yeah, she unless
Do you reckon
she's
she's putting it
learnt
on, bruv?
that. Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't really.
Nah,
trust
allow her, bruv, man. Allow her, bruv.
that. I'm sure she got paid generously for that.
Nah, but that's BBC ain't getting paid. You're deep, bruv.
No, I'm just saying. From a,
You can't just say the woman's having a. That's someone who's like studied the brain as well, bro. Your colleagues are gonna roast you after this one.
Disclaimer:
man.
I am not a clinician. I have made no judgment. No, on a serious note, I just find it physiologically improbable that you'd learn a new skill in the time you've been injured.
But how's that a skill? That's lack of speaking English, bro. That's,
Yeah, but lack of speaking English doesn't become a new accent because that's still learnt.
So I'll give you an example. Could it be that there was it sounds Chinese,
Yeah.
But really, it's just...
What, her struggling to...
It's like someone slurring the speech almost.
Yeah. But that's what I'm trying to say. Slurred speech would have probably been more reasonable of an explanation than being able to say all the words but in a completely distorted accent, which is...
Why are you saying distorted?
She said, but actually, that's definitely Chinese, bro.
Yeah, but what I'm saying I'm saying distorted because it doesn't even sound like a great Chinese accent either. Do you know what I'm trying to say? So either it's an X.
No, it looks like they came here when they were 18. So it's not like they came here 5 years ago.
So what I'm saying is,
it's like that people when they say world and still.
But what I'm saying is that where does that come from, right? That comes from like you've done it a lot. You've used to say like that a lot, and then that's how your accent sounds, right? Because you try to learn a new language, and your new language is overriding the way you've normally spoken.
Yeah.
How does that injury all of a sudden make you like that?
But you don't know though, do you?
No. I don't think anyone could really. I mean, I don't know if anyone could really explain that answer. I just think, with my limited knowledge, I don't know if she can gain a new accent.
Yeah, but gaining a new language is like almost impossible, bro.
People try to do that on an awake basis and fail.
Yeah, exactly.
So how do you knock out and come back?
There was another one as well where this was in house and I checked it up. It was real, bro. That they can't forget. They literally remember everything, bro. And it was like a disability. Yeah, so
it's very interesting.
But their brain must be like massive, bruv.
Yeah, I mean, it could just mean hyperexcitability in one area, but it also may mean that other areas are affected by it because they're not.
Hyperthemesia.
Yeah, bruv, I don't know if this is like a myth. Could they remember being born, bruv?
I don't know if you can.
Because can you remember coming out of the literally and seeing?
But to assume that they would remember that is to then assume that their brain anatomical features were that developed when they first came out.
Right.
That's why I think it's quite improbable that things like that happen. Because the brain is still undergoing growth.
Yes.
You know, connections are still forming, so it's very unlikely.
Go down, bro.
The woman who can't forget. That's a madness.
I take a lot of these articles with a pinch of salt, though.
Yeah.
People with HM can instantly and effortlessly and immediately recall what they did, what they were, or what where they were at any time.
Yeah, I mean, there are people that have extraordinary abilities in many different ways. I think do you remember Big Bang Theory, Sheldon Cooper?
Yeah.
Right? Eidetic memory. That's quite well known. You know, certain people are able to look at something and kind of just remember certain things.
Yeah, it was Imam Bukhari.
I think, is it Imam Bukhari or was it Imam Shafi'i?
Shafi'i, yeah. He would have to literally cover one side of the page.
Yeah, otherwise you just, and that's an amazing feat, and I think it is, these are possible because people have done it or are doing it, and there are more probable explanations for it, but they're not like within the standard deviation of what we normally consider, the average population.
You know what shocks me though, bro? People that are atheists and scientists. Like, how can you know, like what you were talking about, the brain, bro, and how there's fat that covers that bit there, and everything has a purpose.
It's the intricate details.
Architecture, bro.
And how can you think there's no higher power that has created that?
It's a belief, bro. That's the thing. I think, you know.
I think it's that.
It's a belief like everything else. Like
that's an area which is it's more marred by belief, and I think in this day and age anyway, like the reason why religion is questioned so highly is not just because of intellectual thought, but it's more to do with how does one who allows all of this or creates all of this then allow this to happen. I think then that's when the moral questioning comes in, the ethic questioning comes in. You know, think about all the things that happen in the world, and then they start to think, I want to believe that this is so unique and complex to a higher being, but then I can't believe this happened right now, and that's where
that's their biggest argument.
Yeah, but then there are people that can explain loads of things like this, bro. So let's end on one thing, a little game, yeah. Like,
okay, what's the game?
The game is just I'm gonna say two things, and you have to pick one.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not a game. It's more of a
closer.
A bit of a closer.
Finish it. Let's go. Yeah.
All right. Batman or Superman, bro?
Batman.
Why?
I like the idea that you can be a normal human being, have access to wealth and all that stuff, but you still choose to do what you do.
To be a
to be a psychopath.
Yeah.
but like You get to talk like this. And you got money. So it doesn't matter.
Okay. Chicken curry or lamb curry, bro?
Lamb curry.
What about you,
I
man?
always
Chicken or...
choose red meat before.
Is it?
Because red meat is delicacy.
Yeah. What about you, man? Lamb, Zach?
Lamb, bro.
Lamb, okay. Vegetable samosas.
Oh.
No. I'm joking.
Wait, vegetable samosas
Yeah.
or vegetable patty? You know, from Greg's.
Veg samosa.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Veg patties are nasty, bro.
No, but veg samosas, but you know, every time, no one's ever ate a vegetable samosa and thought, thank God it's a vegetable samosa. They're always like, why was it not the meat one?
But I think,
What's that? What's that?
You think it's keema?
Yeah.
There's a massive potato in there.
But at least, right, you got to take the bite, and then you like, especially if you're a guest, you got to finish it.
Yeah, you have
but
to.
no one goes out of their way to buy a veggie patty,
No,
man.
no.
Yeah.
But what about vegetable samosas? Who goes and buys vegetable samosas? I've never seen an Asian buy vegetable samosas. Who's not Hindu? Who's not Hindu, bro? Because that's a choice. They're vegetarians, yeah? They have to eat
but
that.
people still, like, they still put vegetables.
Don't say people, because those people don't exist to you, bro.
It's not that bad. It's alright.
Nah.
Veg samosa?
Veg samosas aren't the worst. They're not the worst.
No, they're a disappointment.
Yeah.
Yeah,
When you
they're
bite into
disappointment
it.
because you want meat to
Yeah,
be
so
in there.
so they're not.
I feel like that about chicken keema, man. I feel like that's the biggest joke ever.
Keema, by the way, is mince, yeah?
Chicken mince is a joke. Like, chicken is already difficult to munch on, right? And you're
Yeah.
gonna fool me into thinking it's lamb mince or beef mince. That's just
All right. What about this? Butter chicken or lamb karahi?
All right, now we're moving to the realms of difficult.
I don't know these ones.
Butter chicken is like coconutty.
Nah. You know, if I put coconut in curry, bro, I don't like it, bro.
It's got a nice taste.
I still go lamb karahi because it's just based on
Yeah, it's
red
lamb,
meat.
innit? You said you had a
It's got-
rule.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
so
red
next
meat,
one,
yeah.
next one.
Yeah.
Wrestling or jiu-jitsu?
Oh, I'm gonna get slaughtered, man. I'd have to pick wrestling first.
Serious?
Yeah.
Why? Because that was your first...
Yeah, but I also think wrestling is the basis of strength. I think jiu-jitsu has always been, how do you use someone else's strength to manipulate it against them? How do you get the bigger guy, the stronger guy to fall into your trap because you're the smaller one? But if you're already strong and then you choose to do that, you're amazing. So if you got wrestling, then you got BJJ, that's like ultimate. But I think having wrestling first just means you're kind of willing to get into the rough of it anyway.
Okay, cool. Oh my God, I forgot this one. Oh yeah. Sorry. BMW or Mercedes?
I hate BMWs.
Raw. First Bengali to hate BMW.
Yeah, bro.
I hate BMW drivers. So if you're Bengali and you drive, I hate you even more. no, I'm joking. No, on a serious note, though, there's something about BMWs. And
BMW is for boys.
a certain
I
percentage
don't like
of their
BMWs,
drivers
bro.
that I
BMW
just
for
can't.
boys.
There's always something about them. They always need to bog at you because they're just being like.
I think Mercedes are for men and BMW is for little boys.
Yeah, so that's a decent way to put
More
it.
classy, innit?
Yeah.
More classy.
Yeah, no,
But I think there's
definitely
certain-
Mercedes are more classy.
Yeah, 100%. But I think there's certain BMWs that have certain types of drivers.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So if you got a 7 Series, that's more of a murky type car, right? So
Yeah.
it's more of an executive
That's what you
thing.
mean, yeah. I just feel like there's certain people that go for BMWs.
Yeah.
I can't scientifically.
They're in
prove it.
sales. They're in sales.
Don't quote me in this.
Yeah, they're in sales. They do
got spiky
sales.
hair.
They use a lot of gel,
Yeah.
and then you smell the aftershave before you see them. Those guys. Okay.
Yeah.
Beach holiday or adventure holiday? You know, like
Hiking and stuff like that.
hiking, paragliding.
Yeah.
That
So
kind of
I'm not a massive risk taker.
Not risk- forget the risky bits.
I'd choose an adventure holiday over a beach holiday.
Have you been on the? You were away
I was
recently.
in Cornwall recently, which is all beaches, but I love the hiking bit of it.
Don't call the women like that, there, bro. That's deep, lad. I heard they were really nice over there.
No, Cornwall was beautiful, man. I got to
I heard
London
it's really, really nice,
and I
bro.
was
Is it
like,
sandy?
What a joke. So there's pebble beaches, there's sandy beaches, there's all of it, man.
I've got a theory. People who go to pebble beaches are idiots.
Real talk, bro. You gotta go for the
The
sand.
only thing, you're going to get wet and you get mash up feet.
The thing is, it wasn't necessarily a beach. It's like most of Cornwall is next to water.
Yeah.
Some areas have massive pebbles.
Yeah.
But that was fun because stone throwing, like pebble throwing,
Yeah,
is fun.
And
right?
also,
Like,
you don't get the sand in
you
different
don't
places.
get none of that. Yeah. So,
but, bruv.
yeah. No,
it's
but the thing is, I
painful.
wouldn't consider it a beach. Like, no one's going to be lying down there. No one's
Well,
gonna
we
sit
used
there
to, bruv. Remember?
Yeah.
So you just call yourself idiot.
And you come, you know your feet like this at the end of the day, bro.
Yeah.
bro. It's like
Fair enough.
you cramp up your feet like this, and then
And then, you know what's funny? You go there like, bruv, bare times. Buy sandal.
those
beach sandals or whatever.
yeah, but we don't.
Those underwater ones.
Yeah.
What are you?
Nah.
Okay, last one.
Go on.
PhD. Okay, let me just rephrase this one properly. Yeah. Okay, would you rather? If I gave you £1 million right now to stop your PhD,
Yeah.
would you do it?
Nah, $1 million's too small, man. Go
Okay,
ahead, bro.
no, £1 million, bro. So you know everything that you've done.
You know what the irony is, though? I was thinking about how could I potentially stop the PhD and use that $1 million to carry on doing research, though.
Okay.
That's smart.
You can't do that though. You have to give up all your research, and you have to start a new life. So, for example,
Yeah.
I'm an assassin.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been hired to kill you, bruv. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they've given me $2 million.
Yeah.
So I say, listen, it's my last job. I don't want to kill on my last job. I want to go out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So here's $1 million. I don't want to see your
Disappear.
face again.
Disappear.
And do not touch a lab. If I find out, I'm gonna have to sort you out. So that's the kind of scenario you got there.
Yeah,
Or-
but then on that premise,
No.
if I don't take the mill, you're gonna kill me anyway.
No, I won't.
Oh, you're gonna leave me alone?
No, hold on. If you don't take the milk, no. But that's a different scenario, bro.
Yeah. All right, fine. I see what you're saying, though.
Stop with the technicalities, bro. Come on.
Yeah. So yeah, if it was the mill to not do research at all, or
Yeah.
then you basically stripped away my passion, which then I'd decline.
Serious?
I would decline.
No. Be honest, bro.
On a serious note, I love what I do on a daily basis.
So you're not for £1 million,
I
bro?
would love to earn a little bit more and be able to, let's just say, I don't know, live a normal life where I'm not always having to. But the thing is, I love the travel bit. I love all of that. I just wish I don't have to. You know how
You just want to do the research without worrying about your bills and money.
And I'm not being unrealistic. I just don't want it to affect everyone else's life because I'm making that decision.
Yeah, that's
so
what I understand.
The last thing I would want to do is make my decision. But if I could earn more to make other people happy, or start a family and not know that it affects the family and all that kind of stuff, that's a different matter. But I would never take enough money to know that I can't do research again, because that's kind of what I do on a.
And also, you have to
daily
look
basis.
yourself in the mirror as well.
Yeah, man.
After that.
If I got kids and everything, but I can't do any of the things I want to do to provide, then I'm just gonna be sitting there thinking.
I remember a few. So, should I tell this story now? Quickly.
Yeah, go
Remember
for
the
it,
guy who came and tried to buy the business, bro?
Oh yeah.
We were quite early on.
Yeah.
And he said to me, I'll give you, I can't remember how much he said. Well, we didn't get to negotiations.
Right.
And he said to me, I want to buy a business. I want to be a partner, basically. I want to buy a third.
Okay.
Bruv, do you know how agonizing it was? But we just started as well.
Yeah.
So for him, he saw us and we said, look, we know you're going to, he's basically betting on the future, innit?
Right.
So I just said no, bruv. Because I didn't want to have someone who I don't know with me.
Yeah.
It was almost like having an employer. But when you start having shareholders, bruv.
And it's not within your own.
Yeah.
Because there's your passion and there's someone else.
Then it's like taking research money from someone, and then they're dictating how you do your research and all that stuff, and what you research as well.
Why mine's like self-funded, and I think I'm enjoying a bit more. But it comes with the stress of knowing that I have to provide all the funding for what I do. But if it was funded, I'd be expected to kind of slave away at the prospect of this is someone else's project and this is only what we were given funding for.
Yeah.
So wait, you have to pay for all your research and everything? For the lab, renting the lab out and...
no, so I don't have to, it's not like that. I don't have to rent out a lab and all that kind of stuff. Mostly what I do is I pay university a base rate for the PhD fees. They then give some of that back for consumables and all that kind of stuff. If I can attract, from my research, if I can attract funding, then I can take from bids and grants, but I have to pay the university a base rate to be a student.
Yeah, so student fees, basically.
Basically, I just pay them the fees for that course, so to speak.
Even though they're not teaching anything.
Even though they're not teaching, but the supervisor is one of their members of staff who's spending time with me.
Yeah.
Therefore,
And also, they're the ones that are going to sign off the
and you're
PhD.
utilising their space and all that kind of stuff. So, So I guess that entails all of it. But it's basically like a course fees.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like PhD fees are very complicated because either it's funded by the university or like a bigger agency. But like I used to be jealous of that kind of stuff back in the day, but I look back at it now and I think, look at COVID, man. It knocked people out of their life for 1.5 years. They would have said to them, "You've got 1.5 years left," because the money still come. But for me, I've been unaffected by it.
So you're not hired by the university. So if you
Every
don't
bit
show
of
up
research,
one day,
I'm fine.
Oh,
Yeah.
is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's why I'm able to work along the side. Like so
wicked, man.
So alhamdulillah, like in that way, I'm okay. But in another way, it's stressful because I'm having to manage that while working.
So would you work? What'd you do?
So I'm at Queen Mary's University as a clinical researcher. So we take blood samples, bone scans, liver scans, all that kind of stuff of like Bengalis and Pakistanis specifically, because that's the project that they're looking at.
Well, you're not paying attention in the beginning.
But
I can't remember, bro.
Yeah, they're basically they're
he needs a brain scan. He needs an autopsy, bro. This guy.
I got like 3-4 brains going as well, bro. Literally.
But yeah, it's a good project that they're working on basically to understand disease and risk factor of disease for that particular population. So that what they're doing is they're taking spit samples to find out DNA, and then from that they want to look at what that manifests into in like their physical characteristics, like their liver, the state of their eyes, bloods, all that kind of stuff. So my job is to collect that data.
That's wicked, man.
So
Jazakallah Nasir, barakallahu fiqh. And that brings us to the end. And to everyone who's stayed to the end, thank you very much. Make sure you hit the subscribe and notification and like button, and make friends in the comments. I'm joking. That's not from me. That's from another a podcast that I listen to.
Community Reddit guy.
No. Like, yeah, leave us a comment, or if you want any questions answered. I think we're going to try and do like maybe once a month. We'll do like a compile a list of questions that we can ask the specific guests or whatever. So on that note, it's from me and Nasir. I'll see you on the next one.